Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at BetOnline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, two legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at BetOnline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit BetOnline.net today. Bring the game home at BetOnline.net. It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at BetOnline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, two legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at BetOnline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit BetOnline.net today. Bring the game home at BetOnline.net.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Welcome to Sporgy, the show that gives you half-ass sports fans giving their half-ass opinions. And now, here are your hosts.
Welcome to Sporgy 131. I'm Chris.
I'm Rich.
I'm the Iceman.
I'm Bobby Hurley. Hi.
Oh. so you're not playing in the tournament?
No.
No, and neither is his alma mater.
Wah, wah.
Wah, wah, wah. I'm back in the rat nest now.
It's that
nursing my young.
Sposta with Duke. Like I heard a term during the football season called the curse of Sposta, and I think that kind of what got Duke. Like they pretty much been crowned the winner of this tournament since before it began.
The minute they found out Zion was coming back. Like for sure, they were like, "Oh yeah, it's Duke and everybody else." I heard that constantly leading up to the tournament.
Mm-hmm. I'm here to talk baseball. That's my entire point. It's the only reason I come on the show. I do it once a year. I'm here to talk baseball, but I got to say this, man. I am with the rest of America that's not living in Incestistan down there in North Carolina. That's just thrilled to see Duke knocked out of the tournament last week. It was a great game. Great. I watched it. I watched pretty much the whole thing. A fantastic game, and I was so happy the state came out on top. And I think the rest of America, outside of North Carolina, outside of the Confederacy, is with us. Were any of you three rooting for Duke, pulling for Duke?
I had Duke winning my bracket, so yes.
Okay, but is that pulling for Duke, or did you honestly think they were going to win it?
Right.
I just honestly thought they were going to win it.
That's fair enough.
That's like rooting for the team you bet on. That's allowed.
Yeah.
Even if you bet on the Yankees to win, you're still allowed to root for them.
Maybe.
Anyway, bye, Duke. Bye, Felicia.
My bracket was the shit until the final 8.
Everybody's was, because there's only one seed left in the tournament. Gonzaga went out. Duke went out. UNC's been out.
Dude, everybody's fucking bounced.
Mm-hmm.
Is Texas Tech that good? I mean, I did see the game where they destroyed Michigan. It seemed to me that Michigan basically destroyed themselves. They couldn't hit a shot. They didn't hit a three-pointer until like 30 seconds to go in the game. I think it looked like that one just sort of like fell in. Yeah. But are they that good? I mean, do they have a shot at actually beating State?
I don't know about this year. I know they're one of those teams like UConn, Kentucky, UNC. Like they have a very storied basketball history. I actually picked them to beat Michigan. I just want to put that out there.
Okay.
But yeah, they're like I said. I don't know about this year, but they're one of those kind of legacy basketball programs.
Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh,
that's where Bobby Knight went after Indiana.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. Kentucky went out, Duke went out, Michigan's out. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Well, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to be the homer because this is what pisses me off about who's left in the Final Four and shit's been being said. And everybody that listens to this show know I'm a Wolverine fan. I don't give a fuck about Spartans. But they are getting a raw fucking deal from the national press. And ESPN can just fucking tongue fuck my unwiped asshole. The bullshit that comes out their mouth about this team and Coach Izzo. Man, look, I'm the type of guy that even if in sports, even if I dislike a team, I can respect a good player. I hate the Colorado Avalanche, but Joe Sakic, Hall of Fame player. Peter Forsberg, Hall of Fame player. Patrick Roy, may he rot in the deepest, darkest part of hell. amazing goalie and in the running to be one of the best ever in that conversation.
Tom Lemieux was a complete gentleman, by the way.
Yes. Yeah. But still, I mean, the way that these articles are bringing up, oh, he yelled at a kid. Okay, so you're a fucking coach, and you're not a coach of like, you know, the YMCA of a team of 5-year-olds, where you're just basically trying to get them like, hey, just don't pick up the ball and run down the fucking court, stupid. Dribble it a few times, all right? You know what I'm saying? Like, so, like,
I just picture this.
YMCA coach of the year.
You don't fucking pick it up and run down the court, stupid. Come on. It's a great visual. Sorry.
You see what the Downsy kid who they made math on here? See what the spit does from his lip? Do that with the ball, okay?
I'm going to put you on the girls' court next.
Smash cut to Rich collecting his Coach of the Year trophy at the banquet.
But no, man, it's like these are college kids. And you don't fucking think Larry Brown ever butted heads with his players? You don't think Pat Riley, any of the great coaches, Red Auerbach, for fuck's sake? Anybody named Red is not an agreeable person. Okay, let's just get this out of the way. All right.
And what bugged me too is a lot of people were like, "Oh, he's yelling at a teenager." Fuck you. It's a 19-year-old. They're old enough to go take a bullet, you know, to go kill some brown people for the country. You know, they can drive a car, they can vote, they can smoke cigarettes, they can gamble. I think they can handle getting yelled at by a 60-year-old white man.
I would be perfectly fine bubble wrapping these kids' emotions if we could keep them out of the voting booth. That would be, to me, fantastic. I would be perfectly fine with that. If you need to give them a safe space, that's fine. You just can't vote.
The trade-off is we'll treat you like the pussies you asked to be treated like, but you can have no say-so in how we run the world.
Exactly. Exactly. You have nailed it once again, Rich. Once again, you have said something better than I could possibly say it. Thank you. I mean,
no, it's funny. I'm almost not picking up on your sarcasm. Just a little bit, but just
no. You put it better than I did.
But no, I understand, and I mean, there's a difference if he went over the line with the you know, one of his guys. If he was like
punch him.
Yeah, if he was like choking them or
kind of give a play-by-play here. I didn't see what happened. I'm not familiar with what you're talking about.
He was just all up in his face yelling at him. Like we've seen a million times at a million sporting events by a million different coaches, different sports.
And do you remember who it was on ESPN that decided to take umbrage with this treatment of this poor teenager?
I don't think it was. I think it was, once again, Twitter. I think this is another situation where people who aren't sports fans were complaining about something that's going on in sports.
Okay, so what it was is Twitter. There was like the Twitter mob got started. ESPN turned the Twitter mob into the story.
Virtue signaling, in other words.
Yes. Okay.
That's pretty much what they do nowadays.
Well, yeah. Anything that's sports culture related, they just go to the social media and they go, "Who's pissed about what? Let's put that up here," and then they argue about it for. I mean, basically, they do what we do, except for they get paid. So obviously, it pays to be pretty or a former athlete. I don't know. Shocking,
you should get paid. God damn it.
And two, we talked about this in the pre-show chat. The kid who it happened to didn't care. He cared nothing. This is another situation where the people who it didn't happen to were more offended than the person who it did happen to.
Well, I mean that's our bread and butter these days. Especially in sports where it's so easy to paint, like, you know. In college sports especially, I mean, let's be honest here. It's not like they're paid professionals. You know, yes, they're compensated in certain ways, but it's a lot easier for these people to hop in and be like, oh, my God, this 19-year-old kid who's playing for a scholarship was just cussed out and yelled at versus, oh, my God, this guy who signed a $400 million contract just got cussed out. You know, because it's like $400 million, go get some fucking therapy and dry your eyes with $1,000 bills. Leave me alone with that bullshit. You know that they're like, I don't give a fuck what you say. I'm here for 10 years guaranteed. Where the fuck are you going to be in 10 years? Skip, not here. So later for you. I mean, so but that's another part of it, because this is something we've talked about a lot, Todd. And it's starting to happen. They're slowly working their way up from, they want to get rid of Pee Wee football altogether. Right. Only start kids in football in high school. And New Jersey actually passed a law that every week in practices up to the game, there can only be 15 minutes of full pad contact. Everything else has to be out of pads, no contact. And it's like, what's going to happen when these kids go to college? They're going to get fucking murdered.
Yeah, they're going to get hit once, fold in half, and that's it.
No, Jenner, you're not supposed to hit that hard. No fair.
And
Something
so
like that. Yeah.
And what it is like, I listen to NPR.
Same team.
I listen to NPR a lot because I'm on the road a lot, and it's amazing. Anytime a football story comes up about a high school or a college player getting hurt, or when a pro football player story comes up about him like getting into a fight or smacking his girlfriend or whatever the fuck, immediately once they get over expressing their outrage about whatever, they go right to, this is why we need to take violence out of football at the college level, and then maybe start looking at the high school level, look at it at the college level, and it'll, after a while, it'll work its way to the pros, because we can't, football can't survive with this level of violence and toxic masculinity and every other fucking buzzword they can throw out there.
Yeah,
do these
has
fucking
for years.
retards do they understand that the violence and the attitude towards women, all of this is because you coddle these little bitches when they're little?
Yeah, they don't know how to handle their emotions.
They exactly. Not just that, but they've never been told no.
Did I lose you guys?
No, you're good.
Keep going, Earl. Or
They
did
never.
you make your point?
They just never been told no.
Yeah.
Okay, and when they get into the real world, into the bigger, colleges and the pros, they want to be coddled and taken care of by all these beautiful women, and the women's like, yeah, no, I'm sorry, and what do you mean no? You know who I am? I'll say no.
I mean,
the biggest, now I pick on them all the time, but the best example, if you will, is LeBron James.
No, it's not. There's
No, it
better
really is.
examples.
Hang on. When he was all the way through high school, straight to the pros, and just, you're the king, you're the king, you're the king. And then all of a sudden, somebody who is just amazing at that sport, the best coach ever in that sport, Phil Jackson's like, okay, LeBron, you can't stay there.
No,
You can't stay there. LeBron just goes and explodes.
Yeah,
and throws
God
a
damn
huge,
it. You're
huge temper.
You're right
tantrum.
on this one, Ice. God damn it. Because, he got told no, that he couldn't, and then he
Couldn't stay in
essentially called Phil
Cleveland
Jackson a
overnight.
racist because
Right.
he couldn't stay overnight in Cleveland.
Right, and that's the exact same thing that all of these boys are going through when they get into the pros, into the colleges, where they're told they're the best, they're the man, they're the this, they're the that, here's all these monies, here's all these women. And then when they get told no, whatever it is, no for a server, no for a food, no for sex, they're like, what do you mean? No? What does that even mean? Like, I can't? Like stop? No, what? Give it.
Because, by the time you're getting out of college into the pros, you are pretty much probably about a decade into just having your ass kissed every single day. So I can see some validity to that argument there.
So all these people are saying toxic masculinity has to go. That's the fucking problem.
Well, I mean, do we really want to get into the numbers? What's the divorce rate? 60% for first-time marriages. 80% of women have primary or sole physical custody. 70% of teachers are female. And supposedly every man who's not married to his baby mama is a deadbeat dad who has nothing to do with his child. So there's no men in these boys' lives. So it's all women raising them, and they're coming out like this. It's men's fault, obviously.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Whether it's sports or spelling bee or whatever, the last place person gets a fucking trophy. So it's not just that they're never told no, they're always good. They always succeed, even when they fail.
You know what, though? There's studies starting to come out, and it's really irritating me because these people rely so much on studies for their point of view when it comes to, like, why do football players, why are they more aggressive than non-football players? Well, first of all, let's be realistic. It's a violent sport, bitch. You stupid dumb ass. Do you think nice guys are out there playing football? There are some, but for the most part, these are people who like to go out there and impose their will physically over other people.
Yeah, for every Tony Gonzalez, there's like 4 Pac-Man Jones.
Entire game is imposing your will on someone else.
Yeah,
it's the entire point of the game.
Yeah, impose your will to stop the person with the ball.
That's the entire point of every athletic contest. It's not just football. It's to establish your supremacy over your opponent, right? That's imposing your will on the other, right? Except in NASCAR.
Dude, that's the whole premise. That's the whole premise of chess. That's the whole premise of chess.
Well,
but there's not chess fights like there are.
Right. I'm talking like in the physical realm, though, like in physical competition, imposing your physical will on someone else.
I've watched chess get physical. People clear the board.
I need to move to Kansas. I've never seen that. I'd like to see that full contact chess.
You never seen somebody take their arm and just go, "Oh, bullshit," and just clear, and the pieces go flying?
Never.
Oh, come on.
Sorry.
He didn't play chess with.
Then you've never played chess, Todd.
Yeah, no. Play my computer.
Just swipe the monitor off the board. Fuck this thing. Fuck you, Deep Blue. I beat you. I know I beat you. But
Watson says blow him, by the way.
Bobby Fischer ain't got shit on me.
That's Kingfisher to you. He's the best, you know.
But no, man, like it's because mainly, let's be honest here, the physical part comes into play. Well, obviously, if people are trying to impose their will physically over another person in a sport, it's going to get testy. Because when you put two intellectuals against each other, they may not get up and start swinging, but they're taking verbal fucking nuclear bombs to each other if they get pissed off enough. I mean, there's been plenty of people, and you can go back and they've made movies about it, like Gore Vidal and I forget the guy he was always debating. Like that shit was like they were trying to kill each other with words, you know. So that's the spirit of competition. That's what these people ultimately have a problem with. Why do we have to compete? Why can't we all just get along and hold hands and sing Kumbaya?
Well, because we're not all bitches. We don't all have a uterus. It's a male thing. It's part of the male DNA. It's been that way for a million years. And if you think you're going to legislate that out or enact policy to get that out of the male DNA, you're fucked in the head. And you're going to create more problems than you're going to solve because you're going to suppress that very real human part of the male psyche. It's there. It's in every male in every species on the planet.
You can't breed that out of us.
You cannot do it. And you can try, and I would hide at the very, very first inclination of the backlash that's going to come back to you. You can't do that. Let boys play, man. Let them compete. They can get it out on the field, and then they can come home, you can cook them a fucking souffle, suck their dick, and go to bed. That's all.
I hope the kid's adopted, but if not, I mean, I've seen a porno that's called Taboo that kind of covered this subject. No, you're absolutely right, and that's
Todd, have you heard of a book called The Boy Crisis?
This is old, isn't it? Like 10, 15 years old?
There
was another one. Maybe I'm thinking. I'm sorry.
I've heard of a book along those lines, but I'm thinking of an article I read probably about a year ago about a single mother raising a son, and she's like, you know, I'm a very progressive feminist and this and blah blah blah, and she's like, oh my God, no matter what I do, he's a boy though. That's how I ended up, you know, taking him to hockey practice and baseball practice. And, you know, she's like, I never showed him this stuff.
Yes, correct.
I never, you know, he found this all on his own. He would play with his toys and he's a little kid and he would make explosion sounds. And I'd be like, no, honey, that's not nice. And he'd just look at me like I was stupid and then go back to playing.
Go fuck yourself. Yeah. You know, that's the thing I'm getting sick of is that there's an element and is this turning political again? Why do we always do this? Sorry. This is my fault, isn't it? It's because
this show is like sports regimented, so I mean.
Okay, well the thing that
turns all the time
that irritates me is that there's a segment of the culture, a segment of the population. I don't want to lay this all at the feet of women because it's not all women that are doing this, but women or feminists, men, women, doesn't matter. But the feminist sort of cult is trying to remake men in their own image. You know, we call it pussification. I know you've used that word a lot, Rich, but they're trying to create men in their own self-image because their self-perceived image is that of the more evolved, superior half of the species. So they need to help us. They need to help us grow up. Go fuck yourself.
The mothering instinct run wild.
It's not mothering. That's not mothering. That's something else. That's not nurturing. That's trying to sort of psychologically castrate boys.
Yeah, we talk about all the time on this show, the old Bill Hicks line. Oh, my penis makes me a bad boy.
makes me a dirty boy. Yeah.
That's really what it's kind of like the road we're going down to.
It's not going to happen. Listen, boys, listen to me. This is not, you can get upset about it. You can, anything you want. This will never work. You can't fuck with biology that way. You can put up with it. People will put up with it for a little while, but it's going to get to the point where there is going to be a horrendously acute backlash to this, and get the fuck out of the way when it hits.
There already is a horrendous backlash. Have you heard of all the school shootings?
You know,
when we were all growing up, you heard of one, maybe two, maybe
total.
Yeah. Now they're every other fucking month.
Yeah. Now some of them don't even get covered.
That's what I'm saying. And it's like, should we send a crew? Oh, wait, only 7 people died? Oh no, how long did it last?
And I don't mean to get off on some like NRA shit because I'm not on that, but I do find this fact amazing. In the 50s and 60s, up until the 50s and 60s, by the end of the 60s, this was phased out. Middle schools, high schools had gun clubs who shot competitively. How many fucking school shootings did we hear of when that shit was going on? Because these kids were raised to respect and know how to properly handle a firearm. Now it's like you have no point of reference. It's a video game to them.
When we were in high school, the ROTC department had a shooting range in the high school.
Wow,
in RU High.
Well, that's a gun-free zone now. Nice. So
I know, but I mean that's what I'm saying.
I didn't know.
So now when you look at it, you're already looking at the backlash.
Yeah, but that was also that's been 25 years ago now, dude. We're old. Let's just be honest here.
But the guns were.
But you're not talking like the 1930s, Rich. 25 years ago was 1994.
No, I get it. I get
it. Kurt Cobain. Yeah, I mean, but the guns per capita were so much higher in those earlier days. If there wasn't some aspect to this, some psychological, cultural aspect at play here, you would think that with all these guns in people's households and easier access to them, all this other stuff that was going on 25, 35, 45, 55 years ago, you would think he's absolutely right about that there would have been school shootings at an exponentially higher rate when it was easier to get access to guns, when every household had a gun on the wall because you had to shoot a fox or some shit jacking with your livestock, right?
Yeah, how did we not manage to shoot up schools before gun safes existed?
I mean, I just think back to when I was about 9-10 years old and I went to go live with my dad for the first time since my parents divorced. And he called me up to his room and he was like, okay, come here, sit on the bed. He goes, have you ever handled a weapon before? A firearm? And I'm like, yeah. What? And I was like, well, I shot a shotgun with Uncle Bill and I had a cousin who I shot a little 38 with. And he was like, okay, well, listen, I have a weapon in this house. I want to make sure that you understand, it's not a toy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if you're ever interested about it, don't you ever go looking for it on your own. Come find me, and I will take you to the gun range. Whatever. I'll make sure you learn the right way. And I was like, okay. That was the end of it. There was
that goes all the way. That goes all the way back to the pussification of the fucking society. Now you can't be physical in sports and you damn sure ain't touching a gun.
Yeah,
they keep it all hidden.
But let's be honest here too. Rich's story had a component of that you don't have a lot of nowadays. Some good old fashioned one-on-one parenting. His dad didn't let the TV try to tell him. His dad didn't let the school try to tell him. His dad didn't let his dad told him himself.
Well, here's the other thing, though. His dad didn't let his mom keep him from telling him.
No, well, they were divorced at that point. She couldn't keep him from doing shit.
Right.
Well, there's the divorce aspect. So.
But that's just it.
If she'd have called him and said, "Don't tell that boy about weapons," he'd have been like, "Bitch, please," and hang up, and that'd have been the end of that conversation.
You forgot the souffle and the blowjob, didn't you, bitch?
That's just it, though, Chris. It's today's world. The woman's like, you will not teach my son about guns. He will not be a violent man. He's not going to be injected with this toxic masculinity. These are the same parents that won't buy first-person shooters for their kids.
Like
some of the least violent people I know own guns.
Well, what I'm saying is, like, but here's the thing. If you tell your kid you can't play football, or you can't play hockey, or, whatever, you're basically telling them you can't play organized sports. Now, I understand that kids do not play outside in packs like we used to. I mean, it just used to be like roving bands of ankle biters traveling together.
Learning how to socialize.
Trying to
learning how to socialize
other neighborhoods. You play a baseball game.
Yeah, football, whatever. But, I mean, the sports kids are still out there. He will seek them out. He will find them on his own. And instead of it being organized with proper supervision, proper training, he's learning to play the street way. You take that street shit and you start trying to put that into like an organized sports program, 9 times out of 10, they're going to bounce your ass. So now the kid, she said, you're not playing sports. He found a bunch of kids to learn to play sports with, learned the wrong way, or worse, makes the team and ends up hurting himself or someone else due to him learning to do shit the wrong way. And then the blame game starts, and it's the big circle. What was once at the bottom now comes back around the top and goes to the bottom again, and we start all over with this shit. That's the problem. You can't stop it. Let your kids play sports. If they get hurt, then fine. I understand.
Let them compete. Let them be boys. Let them compete. Let them go after each other. Learn how to constructively, get that sort of competitive drive and that competitive instinct into a constructive place, rather than going out and trying to fuck everything that moves or get in bar fights or there are so many worse ways for that to manifest itself other than playing football.
For God's sake, let the fucking college basketball coach yell at him.
Yeah, that's how this all got started. Yeah. Tom Izzo was
full
mean.
Circle. How you doing?
I'll tell you, there's one other thing I got to say about this. I mean, it's bad enough. I don't agree with it. I can understand in some weird, fucked up, abstract way, women trying to reshape men in their own image. In a weird way, I get that. You know what I mean? I can kind of put those synapses together and understand how somebody could think that way. What I cannot understand and I cannot abide are these cocked Uncle Toms. These men in name onlys who actually agree with this shit.
Oh, yeah, you're right. My masculinity is toxic.
The guys with the "This is what a feminist looks like" T-shirt.
Okay.
Those guys.
Yeah. Let me speak directly to you boys. Fuck you.
Well, they're not listening to the show.
Yeah, they're not now. Go fuck yourself. In fact, no, since they're not listening, since you have, 10, 20, 30 million listeners to this podcast, if I remember correctly from last year. Yeah, at least. If any of you listeners know these minos that I'm talking about, you tell them Todzilla said to go fuck themselves. Please.
No, these are the guys that were always picked last at the sport. And they were picked because they had to, because we weren't going to single them out. We weren't going to be like, team's full. Yeah.
Just because you've been imbued with some sort of existential shame about your sex, about what you are as a human being, if you're transferring that and inseminating another kid with that shame, there's something fucking wrong with you. Go off, put your fucking dick between your legs, dress up like a girl, play with Barbies. I don't give a fuck. Leave the other kids alone.
I mean, the kid.
Let them be who they are.
You know the kids I'm talking about. You always had the kids that were picked first. You had the kids that were just, middle of the road. And then you had the kids that were like, they weren't geeks, they weren't stupid, they weren't retarded, but they were just like, no athletic ability. There's no way he's going to help your team at all.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Over here.
Yeah, those are, no, it's not you, Chris. Those are the guys that are.
I was always picked last. Say to burst your bubble, kid.
It's not about that. It's not.
The reason I was in the marching band.
Yes, it's the marching band parents that are, and thank God he hasn't reproduced, that are teaching these kids to be more.
How do you flog yourself like that? I don't even.
Don't throw my parents under that bus.
Nah, I think you're off base there, man. I don't think it has anything to do with that.
I don't think just because I wasn't good at sports.
Your parents under the bus. I was throwing you under the bus.
My parents had nothing to do with, maybe genetically, but yeah, just because I wasn't coordinated, don't put this on them.
Well, look, I've never ever been able. I've never been able to understand how it is that you can walk out into public, go onto social media, some fucking thread somewhere, some comment section, and start flogging yourself. Did I tell you guys? I know I told you the story about this dude that I went to Mexico with a few years ago, right? He walked up. We were at this hostel down in Mexico. We were friends. We traveled down there together, right? And we're staying at a hostel one night. I'm having a conversation with some lesbian chick from like Bulgaria or something. And he walks up, interjects himself into the conversation and says, "Hi, my name's Brian. I'd like to apologize for my gender."
Wow. Yeah.
I looked at him and I'm just like, what the fuck was that? You groveling little bitch.
Hey, I've never been able to pinpoint the moment where I stopped being friends with somebody, right now...
That's exactly what happened. I lost every shred of respect I had for him. The trip had just started, too. I mean, we were like, within the first week, we were supposed to be traveling through Central America for like months, right? And I'm just like, don't you fucking apologize for me, you little bitch. I'm going to punch you in the face you do that again. Go fuck up. I went out. I drank so much rum that night, and we were sleeping in a tent right out back because we were trying to be cheap. And I climbed into the tent like at 4 o'clock in the morning, like shoved him in the shoulder. Said, "I want to kick the living fuck out of you right now." I was just lit, and he freaked him out. And he went and he like got out of the tent and went and found some empty room at the hostel to sleep in. But
so the irony in this situation is, because he apologized for his entire gender, you actually went out and got drunk enough to start doing shit where you might wake up the next day and go, "Do I need to apologize for my entire gender?"
I was about to toxify that motherfucker with some masculinity.
That's what like, ooh, I left toxic masculinity all over him.
Yeah, that friendship was done though. I mean, we stayed on the road for a couple of weeks, but it was just like, fuck you. You are a little bitch. She was a lesbian. He wasn't even trying to get laid. I would get it if he was trying to fuck her.
Yeah.
You know, okay.
Hi, I'm that unicorn. I'm that hot bisexual, no agenda woman who just wants to have sex. Like, oh, okay. Hi, how you doing?
He walked up on his knees and kissed the queen's feet. And
It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at BetOnline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, 2 legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at BetOnline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit BetOnline.net today. Bring the game home at BetOnline.net. It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at BetOnline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, 2 legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at BetOnline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit BetOnline.net today. Bring the game home at BetOnline.net. It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at BetOnline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, 2 legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at BetOnline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit BetOnline.net today. Bring the game home at BetOnline.net.
At Jewelers Mutual, we're a little obsessed with jewelry. Obsessed like auctioneers with talking fast.
50, we're gonna fit sold.
Pop stars with auto-tune.
Yeah.
And dentists with asking questions.
So, how did he propose?
After they've put their hands in your mouth.
Great.
Yes, we've made jewelry our obsession for over 100 years. We love it so much we named our kids Ruby, Amber, and Opal.
Venti soy latte for Opal?
At Jewelers Mutual, we insure jewelry and only jewelry, which is why people who are also obsessed with jewelry trust us with theirs.
It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at BetOnline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, 2 legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at BetOnline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit BetOnline.net today. Bring the game home at BetOnline.net.
SportG. ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net.
SportG.
This is what I think parents who don't want their kids playing sports for even if it's for the dumb reasons we talked about, this is what they don't understand. Kids crave attention and approval, and they're going to find someone to give it to them. And if you're not, if you're a single parent who's working and you're hardly ever home, you don't really spend a lot of time with your kids. Your kid's in 3rd grade with a fucking iPhone, shit like that. That kid's going to find somebody who's going to pay attention to him. You put him in sports, at least most of the time, it will channel it into he can at least bond with people over something like, learning how to work as a team, which even for, a hard-headed civil libertarian like me is a very important part of getting by in this world. No matter how much of it.
Because kids also crave structure. That's another part of sports. They rally against it all they want, but there's a reason the army exists, prison exists. Some people can't get out of that mold of I need structure every day.
What about simply, something as simple as dedicating yourself to a goal and achieving an accomplishment?
That as well.
Why? My parents could just buy my way onto the team or into college, or just mow down any adversity in my way.
That's why
you never competed, Chris.
That's why when sports got to the point where for me to keep playing, I wasn't good enough to make travel teams, which were just starting to be a thing, and I wasn't good enough to make the high school teams. Well, you can always pay to play. No, thank you. Yeah. That's that's embarrassing. And we're not talking about a softball league where you're drinking through 6 innings.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
That's like Palin hunting wolves out of a helicopter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, fuck that.
And so I was like, but a lot of kids did it because they love the sport still. And it's like, you know what? If the parents got the money and it keeps the kid from doing some other dumb shit, more power to him. For me, it just feels weird, But I can say that when I was involved in sports as a kid, I definitely didn't have time to get into the bullshit I got into once I stopped being involved with sports. That's when the experimenting started, and a lot of it was a success. So,
yeah. Well, some schools now pay to play is the only option.
Well, yeah, for high school, if you make the team, though, it's not like any kid can just walk in and throw down unless the high school's that small, can just throw down his money and say, I want to play. I got money for equipment. You still have to make the team.
Mm-hmm.
That's for funding on the kids or the school district's end.
The middle school that my nephew just graduated from, all the sports are pay to play. I'm like, really? What happened to the CYO? He graduated from Catholic middle school, but I went to that school. You had to make the team. They started 5th grade. You had to make all those teams. Now, nope, you got the money, you can play.
Really?
Yeah, my mom told me that. I'm like, no! How is he learning about, when he gets out of high school, is he going to go just, hey, I want this job. I can pay to have it. No, that's one of the first, getting cut from a team was one of the first fundamental lessons I learned in life. Hey, sometimes you're not good enough.
Accomplishment. Working for an accomplishment. Achieving something without having it handed to you. Having to earn it.
Realize somebody practiced one more day than you.
Find something you're good at. Cultivate it. Succeed. If somebody just hands it to you all the time, how the fuck do you learn that? Where do we get this sense of entitlement we were talking about earlier?
And that's one of the things I've talked to a former teacher of mine who's a music teacher, and also he coached volleyball. And I was like, so what's it like? How you get kids come in? He's like, no. He's like, I know it's cliche to go, kids these days. He goes, but Rich, I've been teaching for almost 40 years. He goes, your generation was the last one that walked in with a guitar and had a desire to learn it. Kids these days, they walk in, if they can't sit down and in 10 minutes play, Eruption by Van Halen, they're like, this is stupid. And they go find something they're instantly good at for instant gratification. And I'm just like, wow, even in sports? He goes, yeah, even in sports. A lot of kids, I see raw potential. They're good athletes all around. I could probably teach them how to play the game very well, but they don't have the patience for it. I'm not automatically the best out here. Then I don't want to do this. This is stupid.
No. Country's going to be a great place in 20 years. Can't wait. Glad I'll be close to death.
I've never hoped for cancer in my life, but
well,
sometimes dead is better.
Staying on the Michigan State thing, this is what's really irking me is the apparently there was an article that was questioning how clean of a program that Tom Izzo runs. And even as a Michigan guy, I'm like, they've never caught him with his hand in the cookie jar.
It's been 24 years.
Yeah.
Has he been there that long?
He's been there since 1995. He's went to the tournament every year, but his first 2 years, and he's going to his 8th Final Four. So right now he's averaging every 3 years he's in a Final Four.
And he's not won a championship yet, right?
No, he's won one. He won one in 2000. He's come close 2 other times.
Wow. Yeah.
25 years. 24 years.
I mean, but see, that's the thing. It's not he's smashing every other team every year. And there has been stories that have come out of players who he's tried to recruit, and they're like, yeah, okay, well, that's going to cost you, $150,000, $100,000, whatever. And he's like, we don't do that here. Later. And some of those kids are now caught up in the FBI investigation that Louisville's caught up in. So if this is the FBI's findings, what makes some fucking jackass, blow-dry jackass sitting in front of a fucking teleprompter out at ESPN headquarters think that he knows better than the FBI, who actually, investigated it instead of doing a Google search on the fucking subject?
Well, because the news isn't the facts anymore. It's mostly opinions.
Yeah, that's all over the place now, isn't it? Everybody knows better than the people that did the investigation.
Yes.
That sounds familiar to me. Where have I heard that? God, it's like deja vu.
But I just, yeah. And our local sports talk star out here, Mike Valenti, is an unapologetic Spartan slappy, and he gets on my nerves with that shit. But when I heard his rant on it, I was like, you know what? That dude's being righteous right now. That's real shit coming out right there. Because just because you want to paint it as Michigan State didn't win that game, Duke lost it, there's no need to go after the man's fucking career and his fucking reputation. I mean, Duke and State have met 12 times in a tournament. Twice Izzo's beat Duke. So why are you sitting here fucking massaging Duke's balls and trying to act like Izzo, is some big cheat here in this situation? If he's cheating and he's only winning 2 out of 12, then he sucks as a cheater.
Yeah.
Does this have something to do, maybe do you think it has something to do in some weird, twisted, rationalized way with the Nassar scandal? They're trying to figure out some way that Michigan State's dirty in every possible way.
There was an editorial in the Detroit Free Press that tried to lump him in with Larry Nassar, talking about with this whole thing with him yelling at the player about the toxic attitude at Michigan State. It's like him and Larry Nassar, they're not even... Fuck the same book. They're not even in the same library.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of went over that because there was certain elements in sports reporting who were trying to make the connection between what happened with Larry Nassar and every single sports program that just so happened to be male dominated. Wow. Take that for what you will, because they went after basketball, they went after football, they pretty much left hockey alone.
Which I don't get that, because girls gymnastic coach. Why are we going after the men's sports?
Wait a minute. No. Doctor for the girls gymnastics team. He wasn't even a coach. That's the thing. Like, he was literally there to make sure they were healthy enough to go out on the floor. He wasn't there every day running the play. Yeah. He wasn't there running the program. And they're trying to say that somehow he had influence over Izzo and D'Antonio. I think Izzo and D'Antonio would have looked him up and down like he was small and been like, you better get the fuck out of my face before I knock you the fuck out. Yeah. Are you serious right now?
Trainer for the gymnastics team? Shut up.
So, yeah, but I mean, yeah, there's a little residual leftover anger because, rightfully so, fucking 200 and some women were...
I don't think it's right. That's not rightful. I mean, I wouldn't excuse that. I mean, yeah, what happened with Nassar was horrid. But
I'm talking about anger left over from the Nassar situation that he molested that many women and girls. But it's just still misplaced now.
Yeah, why? I wouldn't excuse that. I mean, what does Izzo have to do with Nassar? What does D'Antonio have to do with Nassar? Nothing. Just because you're pissed off, and rightfully so, what happened with the gymnastics team and these girls with this one guy, why is it you're trying to, infect the rest of everything at Michigan State with what happened with that dude when they're not connected?
Yeah, exactly. It's just another way to connect. It's another way to connect dots that don't exist. and try to go see and make everything about your little pet subject. You know, and if your pet subject is, I don't like sports, I don't like the culture around sports, I don't like the bros.
Yeah, right. There was one sexual predator, associated with the university. Therefore, since I hate sports and all masculinity is toxic, you're all sexual predators because he was there. He was infectious. He was contagious.
Just like you. Just like if you're around Harvey Firestein and he coughs around you, you catch the gay. I guess you can catch the child molestation. So,
right.
I don't know. I'm glad I never met Michael Jackson then.
I know, right?
Shit, I'd have caught the super fucking predator virus.
Thank God I didn't go to that R. Kelly concert last year.
I'd have been pissing all over 14-year-olds.
Metallica in Enter Sandman were off to Never Never Land. I wonder, were they child molesters too?
Oh, no.
It was coded. It was coded.
Neverland Ranch likes little boy. Oh, my God.
James Hetfield's pedophile.
Boycott Metallica. Do it
2
now.
2 + 2, powerful erection. Telling you spit that shit, brother. That's that real talk, son. Nope. That's some conspiracy brother type shit.
Glad I could help.
It's great though. It would be a great bit to do as a stand-up comedian. Just got to flush it out a little bit more.
There you go.
Well, I mean, okay, at this point, politics aside, in my opinion, state has to be, maybe not Vegas, but I mean, state has to be like the favorite to go in and slay the rest of the giants.
So who's left? We got Texas Tech.
There's still a number 1 seed left, guys.
Virginia's
still left.
Who's the fourth?
It's Virginia, Auburn, State, and
Texas Tech.
Yep.
Yeah, who's the 1 seed? Virginia.
Yep.
I don't know anything about Virginia. They're too close to North Carolina, so go State.
They've been pretty dominant the last couple of years as the number 1 seed. However, I'm a State fan, and I'm loving that State's in it. But for some reason, I got a gut feeling about Auburn because Auburn's taken down several people they were not supposed to take down.
Well, my buddy said that the last Vegas odds he saw, and this was 2 days ago when I was talking to him about it, he said the last Vegas odds he saw had Auburn, State, Virginia, and Texas Tech in that order, with Auburn having the best odds to win.
Auburn.
And
seriously?
State at number 2.
Yeah, they forgot it's basketball season.
Yeah.
Now, usually Vegas is, they're not going to put those odds out, and they can change within a week easily. It happens all the time. If you follow any type of betting on college football, a week can be forever for odds makers. So who knows if they've changed or if that was just the initial, odds that were put out there.
Yeah, Auburn took down Kansas and Kentucky, and USC. So, or not USC, but UNC. So
North Carolina, really?
Yeah, Auburn has, like I said, wow. My gut's going with Auburn, quite honestly. They've taken down some powerhouses.
They've been ranked all season, or is this like a Cinderella type? I don't really follow college basketball all that close, but have they been like a thing all year, or did they come out of nowhere?
They're the number 5 seed, so it means they were better than average if they were the 5th seed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
really follow Auburn outside of football, so couldn't tell you
they're playing with a lot of confidence. If they beat those programs, I mean, like I said, I don't follow a lot of college basketball anymore, but I know those programs that you just mentioned. Those are good fucking programs.
Yeah.
They're playing with a lot of confidence.
That's what I'm saying. That's why my gut's going with them.
Yeah. Jesus.
My God in heaven. All right, what I miss?
That's how to come back to a program. That broadcast school is really paying off, man.
He's not the best color man in the league for nothing, folks.
Oh shit! All right,
answer your question.
Dynamite drop in, Monty.
Yeah. It depends where you left, Dice, and we don't know that.
You know what sucks? He sounds like Bob Uecker.
He's not the best color man in the league for nothing, folks. Yeah, I love that. I saw that movie the other day.
Well, yeah, it's a time of year to watch it.
Yeah, it's all over HBO, like all the HBO channels the last few weeks it's been on. So keeps me off the news channels, and that's good.
Well, we could segue nicely into baseball from here.
If you like.
We're pretty much done with our tournament talk. You got anything more in the tournament, Ice?
Go Duke. Damn it.
So we're done in the tournament talk.
Yeah.
I do have here. This wraps the tournament talk up with the masculinity and everything. They're asking if Zion Williams should actually risk playing for Team USA basketball.
Risk? How's it a risk? Make him more money.
Like injury? What?
Yeah, because if he goes and plays in USA team basketball and gets hurt, there goes his pro shot.
I would not. Here's the thing. I wouldn't draft a kid who's that much of a little bitch. That would. I'm not kidding. It sounds like I'm trying to be funny, but I'm not. I would not want that kid on my team. If he's afraid of going to play the sport he's supposed to play for the next 20 years, and he's afraid to do it because he might get hurt and hurt his stock, I don't want him on my team.
See, 2-on-1, Chris. Ha.
I just don't.
No, hold up. When we were talking about it, it's not a straight 1-to-1 comparison, Todd. He's making reference without bringing up the first part to when we talked about this with guys who were projected to go top 5, top 10 in the NFL, who were playing in bullshit bowl games.
It don't mean anything.
That's completely different.
USA basketball means something. You can get a gold medal out of it, Earl.
Yeah, football and basketball. You're talking football bowl games, and you're talking basketball, right?
And we agreed that if one of those type players sat out the national championship game, fuck, I don't want that player on my team either. He don't got the drive to win.
Yeah, you don't want to be a champion? Fuck you. I don't want you on my team.
Yeah, but if
I don't care
they
what
want to sit out the Carl's Jr. Bowl, I'm not going to fault him for it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. You were a bad father. Sorry. It just popped into my mind, Idiocracy. By the way, listeners, if you haven't seen the movie Idiocracy, please.
Well, we're living it, so.
Find it.
Outside.
The authorities will be there to pick up your child.
Okay, well, Sorry. I got one thing, and then we can get into baseball. And we're really keeping it Michigan-centric first half here, but I don't give a fuck because I don't know what the fuck the Red Wings are doing. Okay, before they went on this latest win streak, beating teams they have no business beating, because they're literally going to not literally, but they might as well be going to beer leagues and signing the guys who sit on the bench for the most of the game to play for them. They're winning. They went from number 2 overall, best odds, to get the number 1 pick in the NHL draft. In this winning streak, they've dropped to 5th. Their odds went from 17% to 2% on this win streak. That means nothing because they've been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs with the second worst record in the league at that point a month ago.
They had the second worst. I haven't followed the Red Wings at all this year. It doesn't sound like I've missed anything.
No.
So I was gonna ask you to just give like a 10-second recap of the season, but I think you basically just did. So they had the second worst record in the league a month ago, and then they went on a winning streak and destroyed their odds of getting a high draft pick. Yes,
and they're the number 1, 2, and 3 players that are projected to go 1, 2, and 3 are all 2 of them. They're saying are generational, game-changing type players. The third, they're saying if you're a rebuilding team, it's a damn nice building block to build around. And the Red Wings are in complete rebuild mode,
obviously, and
they just fucked the next 10 years of their team up unless they beat the odds with that 2% chance that they have or whatever. It's like 2 point something, but I'm just going to say 2%. And if they get the number 1 pick, okay, but you still you played stupidly to get to that point. Because I watched this happen in the NFL this last season. The Giants were tanking. They were on their way to the second overall pick. And then they went on a win streak. And then when it got to the postseason, you know what they did? They traded up to the spot they would have been at if they just lost. And they lost a draft pick to do so. They lost their second round draft pick. And I'm like, look, I understand wanting to win, but at this point, you are the second worst team in the league playing for a chance to get a generational player. Mm-hmm. What you do is, as a coach, you go to your players that are the best and go, yeah, you're kind of a healthy scratch tonight. That's got to come from the top of the organization. If you put the players on the ice, I'm not going to fault the guys for trying to play to win because that's what's bred into them to get them to that point where they're professional athletes. But at a certain point, you can't look at, well, we've had a good 10-game stretch. Okay, but in 10 years, when we're still at the bottom of the fucking standings, are you going to feel that good about that 10-game stretch? You're going to go back and masturbate and touch yourself thinking about it?
I completely disagree with you. I absolutely disagree with you. I think it goes against the entire premise of competition for one thing, but it also goes against the idea of the draft itself. That the worst team in the league is supposed to get the top draft pick, not just the worst record, but supposedly if you're out there competing every night, the worst team with the least amount of talent is going to have the worst record, and they're going to get the top draft pick.
Well, that's why they have a lottery, though. That's why they have a lottery.
Right, but the odds are still stacked toward a certain direction based on the worst record. It's not a complete lottery, right? It's like basketball.
Yeah.
Yes. So I honestly, I don't. It sounds like the Baltimore Orioles to me. They're fielding a Double-A team right now, trying to lose every single possible game they can to kickstart their rebuilding process through the draft. It's bad for baseball. It's terrible. And do you want? I don't know who again, I'm not following hockey, so even if you told me who they played, it wouldn't matter to me at all. But if you're going out and tanking every night just to get a draft pick, you're doing a disservice to the people who came to watch you play. You're doing a disservice to your fans. You're doing a disservice to your league. You go out and you try to win every fucking night. If you have any pride in your organization and as a professional athlete, you have to go out and try to win. Fuck the draft pick. It's pride. Okay. It's organizational pride.
I totally understand that, and that's why I said. And there are some circumstances going on at the top of the Red Wings organization that, 2 months after the season's done, Steve Yzerman might be president of hockey operations, Ken Holland might be gone, and Pat Verbeek might be the general manager. And if they sweep and clean house in the front office like that, the vast majority of the time when they clean house like that, the new president of operations and the general manager get together and they want their own coach brought in.
Right.
And we just signed our coach to a 2-year extension, which is the only thing they could do besides give him a 1-year extension, make him look like a lame duck coach in the locker room to the players.
Who's the coach now?
Jeff Blashill.
Blashill,
yes. He was their minor league coach with the Griffins and actually had a lot of success with the Griffins.
Okay.
They won a couple cups in their league.
Yeah.
But he just hasn't been the guy to bring around the young players like they were hoping.
What's wrong with Ken Holland now? He's been there for 30 years? He's been there forever.
Going on it, yeah.
Yeah, he was the dynasty GM once upon a time. Why is he vilified now? Why is he on the hot seat?
Because in the salary cap age, he can't work his magic.
Exactly.
Can't go sign a Brendan Shanahan at the trade deadline to take him over.
Yeah. Well, you can't. And you have teams that looked at when the lockout when they lost the season in 2004 2005.
Right.
Basically, when they came back, they broke the players' union. They broke their will because it was a lockout. It wasn't a strike. First of all,
right. Mm-hmm.
The owners locked them out. So when the players they said, okay, here's the deal. You guys have been playing for the Motor City Mechanics and beer leagues, and except for the European players who get jobs overseas. You're not making shit. Sign this and you'll go back to making money. But the way they structured everything, it took away the ability for teams to make big moves because to get players, you had to sign them to, okay, we're going to sign Patrick Kane to a 10-year deal, knowing that he ain't going to be worth shit at the end of those 10 years. And most likely
baseball model.
Exactly.
Well, and so the old baseball model anyway.
Well, the one that's the good teams are phasing out of.
We'll get to that. Yeah.
But so I mean, you had a bunch of teams that did that. The Red Wings had to let go of a bunch of older talent and find a mix of new and older talent that they could still afford. And they did. They won a cup in the salary cap era, and they went to the cup the next year, lost in 7 games to Pittsburgh. The problem is once the old guys who had loyalty to the franchise, so they took these hometown discounts, retired, the new guys were like, why would I come play for Detroit? You're not the Stanley Cup favorites no more. You're not going to give me the most money to come here. And so slowly it stopped being a destination place in the hockey world. Then what happens is you got to bring up young guys. 2 decades of trading away draft picks to get stars and rent them from the trade deadline through the playoffs caught up with them.
Sounds familiar.
Hey, you know what?
And Holland
you want a theme?
Hold on. Holland is just not the GM for that situation.
Right.
If it was a situation that they had already come out of that, recovered from that, they put him in there, he could Dombrowski it from that.
That's what I was just thinking.
World Series.
He sounds like Dombrowski in Kansas. Like if the Kansas City Royals had hired Dombrowski, you know what I mean? Because the Royals don't have the Red Sox budget, right? You're not going to go out and sign a J.D. Martinez and bring him to Kansas City. How effective is so? If I'm understanding what you're saying, it would be like Dave Dombrowski being in Kansas City or in Seattle or someplace that doesn't have a budget. How would he be able to perform without those resources, without the ability to go out and sign major mega deals to these stars?
Because he took over in the mid '90s after they had already had success and went to a Cup final. So I mean, yes, he's the one that got them over the hump, but I mean, he was handed the keys to a Ferrari and told not to wreck it, basically. And he did a very good
GM
job
before that? Was it Jimmy Devellano? Does that sound right?
Yes.
Was he the GM before Holland?
Correct.
Wow.
That's why I remember that, but I do.
Yeah, I don't know how the fuck I pulled that. I used to be a huge Red Wings fan, and hockey lost me with the strike, the lockout. However, when they got rid of the fights and all that other stuff, when I don't remember. I don't know if that was 2004 or if that was a couple of years prior, but I just basically lost interest.
Well, they made it so it's almost impossible for players to fight, and then it's slowly. It's been a generational thing. It really has, because if you look at hockey 20 years ago, even if you go back to the '99 season and look at the way it's played, you can see they started implementing like everything's interference. You can't touch the guy unless he has possession of the puck. If he goes across the middle with his head down and you hit him, that's a dirty hit.
Right.
And it's like they used to be keep your fucking head up. You can't touch the goalie even if he leaves the crease. Which used to be you leave the crease, you're fair game.
Yeah.
And I mean, so
yeah.
They made so many the rules so much friendly to the fast European style, high scoring end to end, that the physical style is slowly phased out. And after 20 years, now the kids coming into the league don't play a physical style, or is very few and far between that do. Guys that are considered power forwards, like Rick Tocchet was, and Brendan Shanahan were back in their day, guys that are considered power forwards these days couldn't hold those guys' jock straps playing in the league. But they're considered tough guys now because they're not afraid to lay a hit on somebody, or not afraid to take a hit or get dirty in the corners for a scrum for the puck.
Right.
Because it's so much about finesse and speed, and look at the highlight goal I scored, or, a goalie doing 10 million gyrations basically when he could just throw his arm up or throw his trapper up and catch the fucking puck. No, he's got to make it look all pretty and it's all stylistic and shit. And that's because
it's like Pavel Datsyuk as opposed to Yzerman.
Yeah, and I mean if that's the player's natural style, that's fine. But I mean, they've completely gotten rid of an element of hockey that started hockey. It'd be like if I walked in your house and was like, "Nice house, motherfucker. I'm glad that you got track lighting and this and that security system. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and take it over now. You can leave." It's like, "Whoa, I built this motherfucker. Not now. It's my house now. Sorry, later."
See, that's what happened with the Red Wings. That's what's wrong with the Red Wings. It's like the theme of the show. They took the power from the rich old white guy.
The rich old white guy kind of had the power taken from him by the deity of God. So yeah, I don't.
His life force went to zero.
He couldn't he couldn't get his stim pack in before his hit points hit zero.
Dynamite drop in, Monty.
But anyways, look, I understand, and
fly ball caught.
I get it, but asshole, if you're gonna do the quote, you got to start before I start talking, because you have to do the quote properly, and it's got to leave the spaces. So go ahead, finish your quote. Try to get your laugh.
No, sorry.
No, okay, at least you were smart enough not to chase that no laugh situation. I understand, but if it is winning those 10 games that important versus, we can have a shot at building a championship here.
To me, you play it out. That's just me. I don't want to see my team. I don't want to see my team tanking. I'd love to have the number 1 draft pick, but it just goes against, everything we were talking about earlier. As far as the philosophy and the sort of essence of competition. I don't want my team tanking. I want them to play hard. I want them to play it out. I want to see what I've got. And yeah, it reminds me of the Black Sox in a weird way. You know what I mean? Losing on purpose, professional athletes, professional organizations losing games on purpose for some sort of gain after the season? No, I don't want that. If you suck, fine, you suck. But play the shit out. Play hard to win. Try to win every single night. Let the chips fall where they may.
Well, I will. This will back up your point. There's been one team who it seemed like did their best to finish dead last, get that number one pick in the draft lottery for the better part of this last decade, and that's the Edmonton Oilers. And yeah, they got a lot of talent with those high draft picks, and they've done absolutely dick with it. So it's no guarantee. Just because you have one or two generational type players, those guys can't play 60 minutes.
Yeah, there's no guarantee they're going to pan out either. They could get hurt. There's no guarantees there either. I want my team to have some competitive integrity, I think.
Well, I mean, I will say this. If this is the type of guys they can find, then they still have the ability to find the diamonds in the rough that the Red Wings were known for.
Well, it's scouting, man. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Datsuk and Zetterberg were not high draft picks. They went and found those fuckers. Mm-hmm. Because their scouts were willing to go to places other scouts didn't even know existed. Go some little ring in the middle of fucking what used to be Soviet Russia.
That's a great point. I mean, if the only way that you can build a franchise, a competitive franchise, a winning franchise that's in contention for the Stanley Cup is to have the number one draft pick dropped in your lap, you've got a problem organizationally as far as your scouting goes. You should be able to put a competitive team together without having to tank your season just to get the first or second draft pick. A first or second draft pick you're not guaranteed to get anyway.
Well, that's the silver lining in this win streak to me. That means that the right people are still doing a very good job in certain aspects of the front office. That gives me a little bit of confidence because Yzerman, from him putting together the Canadian team that won gold and him being general manager of the Lightning, Yzerman, if you're not doing your job, you got to go. It's nothing personal. But if you look at it, he came from a Red Wings team that for those 20 years he was on that team, 25 years, whatever. You had to perform in the playoffs. You had to perform when it was time to perform. If you didn't, they let you go. They let Paul Coffey go. They let Keith Primo go. I mean, they let players that other teams were in a hurry.
They got rid of Konstantinov as soon as he couldn't perform up to. That was really tacky, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, I was going to say, yeah. Unless they're going to play murder ball on ice, I don't know what Konstantinov is going to do out there in his wheelchair. I mean, I guess
you could probably put down a hell of a hit still in that metal.
He could break some ankles, right? But no, I mean, Mike Vernon won him a cup, and they traded him in the offseason. Then they won another cup next year with Chris Osgood. They looked at Vernon, and they were like, it's nothing personal. It's just, dude, you're getting a little long in the tooth. We got to put this young guy in here. So, I mean, it's like the Patriots are. Patriots are like, hey, we've gotten as much good football out of you as we can. Have a nice day. And the league goes and tries to get their fucking sloppy seconds. And it's like, one, you don't have the system the Patriots have. And two, when the Patriots are done with a player, maybe you should take a hint. Maybe they know a little bit more than you do the last 20 years,
They're better at your job than you are. Maybe look up and, kind of take the hint.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but I mean, that's the silver lining. And it's like, look, I'm not going to say I'm like ecstatic at the idea of them tanking. It's just like, is this Murphy's Law in action? How the fuck do you get hot at the very worst time? Like they were hot in the beginning of November.
Depends. How do you know? I'd like to know who they were playing. For one thing, were these other non-contending teams?
They beat Pittsburgh 4-1 tonight. Pittsburgh
means nothing to me. Are they good?
Yes.
Okay.
Beat the Bruins. They're good.
Playoff team again?
Yes. Okay. I want to say the Jets. Yes, the Winnipeg Jets are back. And yes, they're actually a decent team. I think they beat Chicago, which isn't saying shit anymore. Chicago is pretty much a dumpster fire.
So they didn't. In other words, they didn't beat other teams that were potentially tanking for a draft pick either. Yeah, so there's talent. There's talent on this team then.
Yeah, but it's just like, why are you playing like this now? And maybe what it was is by them going and looking for players and calling them up and giving them a shot that normally they would overlook. These guys are like, if this is my shot, I'm gonna make it fucking count.
There you go. Yeah, I like that.
if that's the case, then whoever made the decision to bring these guys up that have been sitting and cooling their heels in the fucking, in Grand Rapids, put that motherfucker in charge.
Yeah, that's going to light a fire under the veterans as well. I mean, they see these kids coming up from GR performing, beating, these playoff teams like Pittsburgh or whoever. That's got to light a fire. It's got to make you a little insecure in your job, right?
I would think.
If you're not performing anyway, if you're a professional, if you have any pride.
Yeah, I mean, if you're out there bullshitting, and here comes, Joe Blow, who you're like, who the fuck are you? You're 27, you're making your NHL debut. Would you get lost on the way to the ring? Yeah. And then he comes out and he puts fucking 2 in and gets 2 assists, lays a couple players out, and is grinding out there in the corners doing the dirty shit that you have to do, and the guys you have to have that aren't the superstars, and they're willing to do it. Yeah, that would light a fire under my ass. I'd be like, oh shit, this motherfucker's coming for my job.
Yeah, I appreciate where you're coming from. I would love to see, in any of the Detroit teams, I'm a homer, myself. I would love to see these high draft picks all coming in and having this generational talent sort of filter through. But I would rather see the organizational character built rather than playing to tank for a messiah.
And
you know what I mean?
That's the one thing I gave Ken Holland when I asked him about tanking. He said, look, I was never brought in here to lose. And even when we knew we weren't going to be a Stanley Cup contender, we still went out there every night and played as if there was a shot that we could make it to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's just what we do. And it's
you
like,
don't quit. Yeah.
And I guess now that, there you go. Here you go, folks. This is what we don't have in this country anymore. I've changed my mind based on someone having a civil discussion with me. I'm on your side now, Todd, because I'm just thinking of this. You know who's got that loser mentality in their franchise? The Detroit Lions.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Todd, you're kind of just chasing down the whole "don't sell the farm for a maybe."
Yeah, exactly. No, what I'm chasing, organizations, winning organizations, and I'm taking most of this from baseball, but I think you can look at the New England Patriots. I think you can look at the Red Wings back in the dynasty days, the teams that I do know. I know that the NBA franchises, the dynasties back in the day, like the old Celtics, the old Lakers, these teams would not lose. They did not fucking quit. It doesn't matter if they were hurt. It didn't matter. They went on the court and they competed every fucking night like their dignity was on the line. Like, yeah, you may beat me, but I'm gonna kick you in the teeth while I'm going down. And that's an organizational
that was
trait.
The Detroit mentality. That was, if we can't beat you, we're gonna beat you.
It's go down fighting. If you're not going to win every day, but you're going to play hard and you're going to try your damnedest to beat the guy on the other side every single night for 9 innings, for 4 quarters, for 4 periods, however long it takes. And that is, I think, that you're exactly right, Chris. That's what the Detroit Lions have lacked. They've lacked a winning attitude, psychology. Nobody ever talks about the Lions way, right? They talk. You hear that?
Oh yeah, we do.
Sort of. Well,
we call it SOL. Same old lines.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase that. You never heard that. You never hear that put in a positive sort of framework, right?
No.
But you do. The St. Louis Cardinals have the St. Louis way. They play good fundamental baseball. They play defense. They have pitching, and they don't beat themselves. Right. It's an organizational attitude. And I think that that's huge. I think it's important to have that. And I don't want my team, saying, well, fuck it, we'll just tank everything just so we can get this one guy to come in because we don't know how to win.
Todd, trust the process, yo.
Yeah.
It's a process.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what Philadelphia 76ers said. Trust the process.
There you go, folks. Right before your very ears, you just heard me get flipped around, and no one had to be called anything. No one was accused of preferring the company of men to women.
We're all still friends on Facebook.
Yeah. No one said
say it out loud.
No one said anyone enjoys watching someone else fuck your wife. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's amazing all the shit that got done without all that. No, you absolutely brought me around to seeing it your way. Because, I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, I don't want the Red Wings, especially if it's a team of a lot of young guys, to go, oh, it's okay to lose as long as it furthers us. And that set in as the mindset to where it's like, it doesn't matter. We're the Red Wings.
Yeah, exactly. We're the team of Yzerman, right? I mean, that's the franchise of Steve Eisman. You don't fucking quit.
USA, bitches.
You do not fucking quit. You have some dignity and some pride, and you fight.
You may lose, but you don't quit.
Right.
And if you and I'd rather, okay, fuck it. It's going to be a hell of a long rebuild if we get some bullshit draft pick.
Well, no, if you have the right organization, you nailed it. I mean, if you've got the right scouts who are going to the right places and know how to evaluate talent, it might not be. You never know. Some of these guys who was it you said that was, was it Zetterberg you said was a late round draft pick?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a linchpin of the organization for years.
I think Datsuk
was... the go to the NFL was the 199th pick. Come on now.
Yeah, Datsuk was in the hundreds. I want to say Zetterberg was in the high 200s.
Yeah.
Like of overall. So, I mean, that's diamonds in the rough.
Was Lidstrom, was he a top pick?
He's a pretty high draft pick. But, I mean, the last number one draft pick they had until they drafted Dylan Larkin a few years ago was they drafted Martin LaPointe, number one.
Marty? He's a badass. He's kind of a tough guy who could score, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was like a small power forward.
Yeah,
he was like the first edition of Holmstrom.
He stepped up his game in the playoffs, and that's what kept him around as long as he was. It was only when they started restructuring and put the salary cap in that they were like, we have to part ways with him. It's just we can't keep him and keep the players. I mean, they gave up Shanahan, they gave up him, Hall, McCarty. I mean, they gave up a lot of guys to get under the salary cap after that lockout.
Yeah.
I mean, but think back. He was their last number one draft pick up until a few years ago. They didn't have one, and they had all this success. So it is possible.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, lightning's hit twice in my lifetime. Can we get that out? Just one more cup. I'm greedy. I want one more cup.
Yeah.
I want one more cup that I can remember without going. There's a couple brownout moments during the celebration.
It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at BetOnline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, two legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at BetOnline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit BetOnline.net today. Bring the game home at BetOnline.net. It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at BetOnline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, two legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at BetOnline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit BetOnline.net today. Bring the game home at BetOnline.net. It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at BetOnline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, two legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at BetOnline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit BetOnline.net today. Bring the game home at BetOnline.net. It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at BetOnline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, two legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at BetOnline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit BetOnline.net today. Bring the game home at BetOnline.net.
Sporgy. ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net. Sporgy.
So anyways, let's get on to it.
Since we're talking long rebuilds, should we talk about the Tigers?
I'll let you guys intro and talk for a minute. I have to step away for a second.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So you want to talk about the Pistons while I'm gone?
No.
Nothing
to talk about.
I'm trying, man.
Earl's already interjected his weekly LeBron sucks. That's about the extent of
the Lakers suck, though.
Well, yeah, we haven't talked. Well, Todd's taking a pee. LeBron. Now Ice. Now we can talk about the sun setting because now he has missed the playoffs for the first time since his rookie year. So now we can. It's the meme Rich posted, but now we can lay to bed that whole argument if he puts a team on his back, it doesn't matter because LeBron's going to be able to watch the playoffs from his living room this year.
Yeah,
he's already having his minutes managed and all that stuff. So.
And it's more than just a LeBron situation out there in LA because you got Daddy Ball showing his ass again out there talking crap, stirring the pot, and it's like it just doesn't seem like an organization that's all on the same page. It just really doesn't. It seems like there's too many people thinking about other shit besides we all need to fucking pull in together and be the second Golden State Warriors on the West Coast.
Maybe Magic isn't the right GM for this team.
You think?
Just because he was a great center for you doesn't mean he's going to be a good GM.
He was part of the Showtime Lakers, and they thought, oh, well, bring it back the Showtime Lakers. No, it doesn't exist in today's world.
Well, I mean, we've been over this, ad nauseum, but it's the super team mentality. Get 3-4 and then build around them with role players. That's been over a decade now. We're going on 15 years since the Celtics put together their big three, and then other teams started following suit. So he just maybe he's not a GM that can go beyond. I'm going to copy what's been successful, and he thinks he's copying it, but obviously it's not working.
No, it is not.
Well, you got to get the big three first. You only got one. LeBron missed the playoffs because LeBron only had himself. He didn't have any second person. LeBron, it's been his MO since he came into the league. He needs at least one more. LeBron is not Jordan. LeBron is not Kobe. He's not Dwayne Wade. He's not somebody that could take the team by himself.
Neither one of those players took the team by themselves to the championship. Nobody can do that.
Kobe had Shaq.
Yeah. I mean,
Kobe won
Dwayne Wade.
Shaq.
Dwayne Wade surrounded himself with people in Miami. Jordan had Pippen.
Hey, you want to count Dwayne Wade's titles without LeBron and Chris Bosh?
There was another one down there. Who was? Yeah, LeBron. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, nobody can win the NBA championship.
Dwayne
Yeah.
Wade won with Shaq, by the way. Just saying.
What's that?
So he had somebody with him. He didn't win the championship by himself. Nobody can do that. It's not 5-on-1.
Well, it's also just not the way that the competitive teams are built. Yeah, you might be able to take a team, put LeBron on there, and put a bunch of role players around him, and he can beat up on the bottom half of the league. But when you get to teams that, like I said, have 3-4 potential Hall of Fame starters, and then a team of role players who accept their role and play it well coming off the bench, he's on his own out there.
Mm-hmm. Who else does he have?
In LA?
Yeah.
Nobody. I mean that.
I mean, Ball is probably...
No, it's not even close.
No, I'm just saying, as far as name... let me finish, motherfucker. As far as name recognition. But that's because his daddy flapped his gums and started a clothing brand for him before he ever fucking played one game in the NBA.
Yeah, I almost shit myself. Like I said, I don't follow the NBA either. But I pay enough attention that I figured out a couple of weeks ago or a week ago the Lakers were out of playoff contention after signing LeBron, and my jaw dropped. How the fuck did the Lakers not make the playoffs with LeBron? The fucking Lakers.
Because Earl's right. Their marquee player is one dude. They need more for supporting cast if that team's getting to the playoffs. But the talk around LeBron though is like he's got 1 foot out of the league. He wanted to get traded to LA because he's starting his production company and all that shit out there. So
yeah,
I think we can finally start talking about the sun is starting to break the horizon here with LeBron.
Well, I mean, look. That's not exactly what Lakers fans are this is not what Lakers fans thought were going to happen when they found out they'd signed him.
No, they made murals and everything else to the fucker.
Come on, absolutely. But they've had good reason to think that. With the exception of his first 2 years, he's been to the playoffs every year. That's a feat.
And how do they not surround him with somebody? I mean, it's not like, this is a destitute organization. How do they not have a supporting cast?
Well, they tried to make a trade for what's Unibrow's name down there in New Orleans?
Anthony Davis,
the Pelican.
Anthony Davis.
If I had to play for a team, what's the team's name? Pelicans. Really? Did we lose a bet?
What do you do? I'm a Pelican.
I guess it's better than beautiful butterflies.
Not much.
Yeah, his supporting
I'm a
cast
monarch
is
butterfly.
Ball. His cast is Ball, Kuzma, Rondo. You guys remember him? He was part of the Celtics.
I remember. Yeah, remember.
So you have the ghost of Rajon Rondo.
Yeah, exactly.
And who else?
That's it.
Yeah.
They got rid of Thomas as soon as he got there. As soon as LeBron got there, Isaiah Thomas was bounced.
Starting to get the feeling they don't like each other.
A little bit.
Just, well, maybe tad bit. As a friend of ours would say, just a little bit.
But yeah, whatever. Good. You know what? If that's the case, I'm so tired of it being the LeBron show constantly. And here's the thing: it's the people who hate him who bring him up even more than the people who love him. It seems like it's just like, fine, just ride off into the sunset and let little baby Ball be like, Shane, come back, and he just keeps riding. Because I'm over this shit, man. Like, seriously, like it's always constant. Is he better than Jordan? Is he the best ever? Is Jordan the best ever? Well, what about Wilt Chamberlain? Wilt Chamberlain played in an era where no one played like that. Oh my fucking God. It's like Crosby. Like, yes, he's an amazing player. I would have loved it if he wore a Red Wings jersey, but he didn't, so fuck him. Fuck him in his ear and fuck him in his other ear.
No one ever brings up Bill Russell and his 11 championships.
Yeah, I know, right?
They always conveniently leave him out of that discussion.
Hey, shut up. He's the white guy. Moving on.
Last time I checked, 11 is more than 7.
You all right out there in Kansas, bud?
Yeah.
They didn't just legalize medical marijuana or nothing, did they?
No.
Okay, just checking. Right.
No, Jordan's the best ever because that motherfucker owned a decade. The whole decade. Jordan.
11's more than 7, though.
Oh, God. Do we got to do this week? We got baseball to get to.
Yeah.
No.
Jesus, this is always like a half-hour conversation minimum. And I'm
okay. Here, you know what?
And I'm out of cigarettes. No, shut up, motherfucker! I'm out of cigarettes.
No, he's 11's more than 7. I got it. However, the 7, the Jordan win, he did it with more pizzazz, more panache.
Yeah, more still 4 short. No matter how you couch it, 11 is more than 7.
I don't care. It looked better.
All right.
So baseball. What is this? White man can't jump. Would you rather look good and lose than look bad and win?
Right.
All right. So
I actually got that reference. Nice job.
I get my moments every once in a while.
Occasionally.
But yeah, let's start with the home team.
Hey, hang on a second. No, the Warriors, the entire starting 5 of the Warriors got fined $15,000 each for pitching at the refs. They have become prima donnas. They have become the people that they believe their own hype.
Why? Because they're not allowed to share their opinion about the refs?
Nobody is.
Well, that's an NBA problem because that's some bullshit.
Bro, you're talking about the league where a referee was convicted of fixing games he officiated in.
When was this?
Tim Donaghy.
10 years ago, 12
early
years ago?
2000s.
Well, was it that far back? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, well, maybe it took him a while to be convicted because I seem to remember the trial shit being like late 2000s. But whatever, it doesn't matter. No, and the NBA's always been that way. You can't, well, in my lifetime at least, you can't talk about our officiating. Well, if it sucked, it sucked. And fuck you for telling me I can't say that if I'm asked that question. Why don't you keep these reporters out of the fucking locker room asking me what I thought about the officiating then? Oh, that's right, because you won't step to the fucking press like that. But you just come to us and hit us with a little $15,000 fine. Let me go rummage through my fucking couch cushions.
Well, consider they're paid over $200 million. That's $250 million. $15 grand. Yeah.
You have a calculator there?
I'm just saying, he had it in his sock.
It was an abacus, wasn't it?
What's an abacus? You're damn right.
I did that on purpose.
Yeah, no. Is that's probably like a game check for these guys, right?
Not even.
Probably, yeah.
Not even.
I mean, look, I understand, I guess, you don't show the fucking, the ref, the ump up, if at all possible, unless you just fucking are like, are you serious with the strike zone today or something like that? Like, really? Really? Do you got glaucoma? I got my weed dealer on speed dial. We can fix this problem because I don't know what the fuck you're doing back there.
No, you remember Jim Leland a few years ago? He went on a tirade in front of the cameras in the clubhouse after one of the games, just ripping into the umpires. You gotta say something about this. Blah blah blah. You remember that?
I want to say something about this. And I play. My boys play hard for me to play all 9 innings, and then these umpires are out here bullshitting, and I'm tired of it. God damn it, I need a Marlboro Red.
Yeah, I think that's exactly. I think that's
word for word,
verbatim what he said. Yeah,
and he was eating in between.
I love that guy. He would go out. That guy would go out of the dugout, go into the tunnel behind the dugout to smoke in the middle of the games.
Yes, the only one allowed to smoke in Comerica Park, Jim Leland.
Jim fucking Leland. I mean, I'd like to be a cigarette boy. You know what I mean? Just sit there and hold his Marlboros and hand it to him when he walks back in the tunnel, light his smoke for him.
Well, I mean, but to also be fair, Leland wasn't shy with, giving it to umps on the field. I mean, I clearly remember it was like his third season here. It was near the beginning of the season, and they were talking about, are they going to be able to have the fire and this and that? And all of a sudden, I just hear, like, on the mics by home plate, I hear the ump. He stands up, he turns, he looks towards the dugout, and he goes, "I know where the strike zone's at, Jimmy." And I'm like, oh, shit. We're about to fix some shit. And then all of a sudden, they cut to Leland, and he's like, "Rah, rah, 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 rah." And I was like, oh, shit, we're about to have a Billy Martin moment. I ain't seen one of these in a while, in Detroit at least.
Did you see the General Brad Ausmus finally won his first game out in L.A.? He started the season 0-5 with the Angels. They finally won a game.
Shocking.
Yeah. It got me to thinking about the difference between Leland and General Brad Ausmus, who would just sit in the dugout and act like he was, pondering the meaning of life. Saunter out to the mound. Are you feeling okay? Would you like to come out of the game? I hated that guy.
Did you see Gardenhire make the comments about he's going to be doing an awful lot of drinking if the Tigers' offense doesn't pick up?
I loved it. I fucking loved it. I love this guy. He's the perfect manager for this team. He's a perfect manager for the city. I hope he sticks around for like 15 years.
I kind of wonder if his scene was like the scene from fucking Major League when they called him and they're like, "Gardy, hey, what's going on, man? You want to manage the Tigers?" "Oh, I don't know."
I got a guy on the other line on about some white walls.
I got to call you back. Just... Oh, shit. Well, okay, so right there, the Tigers offense. This was supposed to be a preview of the season, but apparently we're going to give you a week sample size to preview the season. Tigers offense has been, to put it mildly, do.
They had an outburst tonight. Now, I don't know if you guys saw the score. They put up 3 runs.
Spread out.
2 of them against Aroldis Chapman.
Damn.
Believe it or not. They beat Aroldis Chapman in the 9th inning. This Dustin Peterson kid came up in the top of the 9th inning, had his first major league hit, a double burned the left fielder, and drove in the go-ahead run, and then they added another
What's his
run
name?
after that. Dustin Peterson.
Slow down, Peterson. Save some pussy for the rest of us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. He's only on the team because Jacoby Jones got hurt at the end of spring training. And
I'm just saying, opening day, if they beat Kansas City and he does anything in that after winning them the game tonight, they might rush the field and carry him off Rudy style. It's opening day at Detroit. There's enough beer going on. It could happen.
Yeah. Their offense has been poor, to say the least. Yeah, it's not been good. But they're starting pitching. On the other hand, Jordan Zimmerman tonight, he had a perfect game going into like the 6th or 7th inning on opening day up in Toronto. He almost went 7. He went 6 2/3 tonight, gave up only 1 run, struck out 6. So their starting pitching's like in the top 5 of Major League Baseball in several categories. after 6 games. So go figure. I can't put my finger on that myself, but their pitching hasn't been bad. They just can't hit the ball. They can't get anybody on base. They can't drive them in. That's going to be a long season as far as the offense goes.
Yeah, and I mean, absolutely nobody is talking about this team on a national level.
Why would they?
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's amazing how quickly, I know a baseball season's very long. It is 162 fucking games. That's a lot of fucking sport to play in that period of time. But still, it was, 5 seasons ago?
2014 or 15. I think it was the last competitive team they put on.
Yeah. I mean, we're sitting here, and that was on the national level still, where they would still bring them up. Like, they weren't the de facto, okay, everyone picks them to win the Central. But, if you had 5 guys talking, at least 2 of them would pick them to win the Central still.
No, they were the perennial favorites for about probably 5 or 6 years. I mean, they were like Cleveland is now back then. And
when Kansas City started rising up, I started hearing a lot of people nationally hop on the Kansas City bandwagon, and apparently rightfully so.
Right. And that's about the time the Tigers started to suck. Was about the time Kansas City came on.
So, I mean, Kansas City, 2 back-to-back World Series and a win, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, obviously, they knew what they were talking about. But, yeah, it's going to be a long baseball season if you're not into watching an up-and-coming team, watching guys who you think are going to develop. And it's kind of it's rough because I'm almost half, like, 1 foot in that camp, 1 foot in the camp of I'll watch it just out of morbid curiosity, because I don't know the minutia of like the minor leagues and what's going on down there.
Good things.
So I have to take the word of people who actually do follow it. Around here, the local guy is Pat Caputo. He's pretty knowledgeable about what's going on in the minor league system with the Tigers, and he does a Tigers Weekly show. And he just started dropping names, and I felt like I needed to whip out a pen and pad. Like, hold on, I've never heard of this guy. I got to look him up and him up and him up. He's like, there's a lot coming up to look forward to.
A lot of pitching, and it's not far off either. I mean, I was talking to, we talked last week, and I told you that when Michael Fulmer went down with the Tommy John surgery, he's out all year. He probably won't be back before the All-Star break next year. Okay, so he's out for a long time, and I was happy. This made me giggle. I was almost thrilled to hear it, because now what you can do, you've got a rotation spot opening up for some of these younger kids who are coming along, and they are going to be part of the team when the Tigers actually contend again. The first one has arrived. His name's Spencer Turnbull. He's the guy that took Fulmer's spot. And that kid, I'm telling you, he pitched really well on Saturday, his first start against Toronto. He did really, really well except for 1 inning. And he's young. And he came out the 4th or 5th inning, had a rough time, came out, finished the next inning, and only gave up 3 runs out of the deal. But this kid has some filthy shit. I don't know if you guys remember the name Brandon Webb.
Oh, yeah.
He was a pitcher for the Diamondbacks back around the middle 2000s. And he was dominant. Hurt his shoulder, and he was done all of a sudden. But that's who this kid reminds me of. He's got this 2-seam fastball, this sinker, that's just fucking deadly. Throws 95 with it. He's got good breaking stuff. He's the first one of the new guard that has arrived. And there are more that are really, really, really close. I think probably the next one, if I were to venture a guess, it's either going to be Beau Burrows or maybe last year's draft pick, Casey Mize. He could be up sometime this year if something happens to the rotation, more injuries or something like that, and he continues to perform in, I think he's in AA right now. But he was drafted last year because he's got great stuff and he's polished. He has command. He knows how to pitch already. He doesn't need to spend a lot of time in the minor leagues. So he's not far off either. So
I remember hearing his name quite a bit before the draft last year.
You're going to hear it a lot. He's, I'm not going to put him at this level, but if there's another Verlander in the minor leagues, he's it. So get used to it. Yeah, he's not far off at all. And with his team, I mean, they're not competing for anything other than 100 losses at this point, right? Just to be realistic. I mean, they're probably not going to lose 100. They'll be better than they were last year. I think with the addition of Mercer and Josh Harrison up the middle, they're going to be a lot better. Jacoby Jones, one of the best defensive center fielders in baseball. His job is not locked in stone because of Daz Cameron. He's another guy that you probably heard of from this other guy. He's a center fielder that they got in the Verlander trade. He's down in AAA now. He had the best spring training of anybody. He's ready to play at Comerica Park right now, but they're not going to bring him up because of contract considerations, and they want him to learn how to play center field a little bit better before they bring him up. But he's ready right now. He can do what Jacoby Jones does. He can strike out 200 times, just as well as Jacoby can, and do it with a little more flair and hit the ball a little bit better.
Man, I feel like Rich listening to Pat Caputo right now. I got to write down half these names.
Yeah, remember those two for right now, because they're gonna. Daz Cameron is close. He may be up if Jacoby Jones doesn't come back and do something, and mediocre Matuk, he's on his way out. That guy's. I don't know how the hell he's still with this team.
That's your boy, Ice.
Can I?
Matuk?
Yeah.
You need a new boy. You need a new boy.
Okay, you know what he is?
Mediocre.
He's the new. He's the new Brandon Inge. He's the new. No. Who was Drew from Drew and Mike's boy?
Don Kelly.
Don Kelly, baby.
Yeah.
Okay, these gritty, undersized, underperforming, but for whatever people root for him, that's the new guy. I've met so many people that are like, that's my Tiger.
Matuk?
Yes.
Jesus.
I'm not bullshitting.
You might be on a podcast with one of them right now, Todd. Just saying.
Oh my God. Matuk?
Yeah, probably outside of Miggy. And I'm talking about current players. You know the player T-shirts? They have the name and the number on the back.
Yeah.
I see his probably the most out of players still currently on the team.
You're punking me.
No,
you got to be punking me.
I am not.
You're seeing Mikey Matuk jerseys?
The jersey T-shirts, not like
I don't care, whatever.
$150, official jerseys. No one's spending that much money on that jackass.
I would sooner wear a T-shirt that says pedophile.
That could be arranged. I do travel around Shacktown. That's pedophile capital of Lee County. But I mean, I don't want to do that to you.
I'm giving him an inordinate amount of shit. He's not as bad as I'm making him sound, but he doesn't. I don't think he has a hit yet this year. He had a good September last year, but he's not the future of anything. The only reason he's playing right now is because Jacoby's hurt. That's the only reason he's anywhere near the field. He might be in AAA if Jacoby were on the squad right now.
Well, I think the fact that there's so many people that are walking around and will go, "That's my Tiger." I think that is kind of this fan base's mindset. They like to root for the underdog.
Yeah,
seriously. Inge was supposed Inge was supposed to be a catcher when he come up. Then they got Pudge, and then they moved him to short.
Third
I
base.
thought he played. Okay, well, I mean, I knew he ended up at third ultimately, but
yeah, I don't remember him at short, but
maybe I'm thinking second or something. But anyways, they moved him around, and it was always like, give Inge a chance, and I was like,
it's been a decade.
Like, look, man, I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm not saying he's an asshole, but like, really, dude, at a certain point, you got to understand that like he's just not going to be that superstar player, and in their moment. Their moment as is all the Inge fans in Detroit was when he was in the home run derby until he took that first swing, and then that was over because he didn't even hit a home run in the home run derby.
Yeah. Well,
right. I remember when they traded him, or I think they traded him to Oakland, right when he finally left, and he went on a tear, like immediately. He hit like 3 grand slams or something in a week, including one I think against Detroit. And I felt so good for him because he was vilified. You're right. There were people that absolutely loved him, but he became the whipping boy. He was everything that was wrong with the Tigers. It was Brandon Inge's fault. It was like being the Lions quarterback or the Red Wings goalie when they're losing. Right.
Yeah, but too, it was this mentality with him, which we talk about it during football season. In pro sports, you are who you're going to be in your first 2 or 3 seasons. Let's be honest. When have you ever heard about a breakout star in his 5th or 6th year?
Happens never. All the time in baseball. Happens a lot in baseball.
Your McGuire's riding up, notwithstanding. You're generally in sports. You are who you're going to be in your first 2 or 3 seasons. I mean,
I disagree with that. I would say that in football, maybe basketball and hockey, but not in baseball.
But
I mean,
to me,
look at Justin Verlander. Look at Justin Verlander's first 2 years. Look at his second year. Look it up online right now. Look at Verlander's second year and tell me that's
I'll refute my own argument, and I'll say Rick Porcello. So, okay, maybe it doesn't apply to baseball.
Yeah, I would agree in most other sports, but baseball has a longer gestation period as far as talent goes than most sports.
My problem was never that. My problem was people either looking at him as if he is a Miguel Cabrera level player.
Oh,
and,
God,
and,
no.
And going, why aren't you playing up to snuff? Or people going, he's going to break out and have a Miguel Cabrera type year here soon. And it's like, no, that's not the player he is. My favorite Tiger during that run in the 2000s and early 2010s was Polanco. Polanco was just solid in the field, the best second hitter, contact hitter in baseball for a few years at that point in time.
Never understood that move, us getting rid of him. I never fucking understood it.
Never made sense.
He was like the MVP of the team when they got rid of him.
But
they didn't have a second baseman for a long time after that.
Yeah. But I mean, he wasn't going to be the Jeter of Detroit. It just wasn't. That's not the type of guy, the type of player he was. And I understood that, and I respected him for the play he brought to the field. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, but if I was like, why isn't he getting noticed up there with like the greatest of all time? It's like, because he's not. He's just not.
Polanco.
Yes. Like, stop attributing something to him that doesn't exist.
Because he's 30 years old. He's batting 200.
Naked
That's
guy.
why.
So somebody got that, I'm sure. But yeah.
So here's my question, because this is where I always start to worry about when I hear the farm system or the minor system for one of my teams is looking good. Jesus Christ, have they got the front office in place not to blow it and fuck it up?
Yeah. Yeah.
You trust Al Avila that much, huh?
Yeah, I do. I don't see any warning signs with the guy.
He's going to make a good idea to hire Brad Ausmus. You trust that guy?
You sure that was Avila? Was that Avila or was that Dombrowski?
2014 was his first year, right?
Yeah, I thought Avila was the guy who hired Ausmus to be the coach.
Might have been. I don't know. I don't really have a problem with that. I mean, every general manager is going to make a mistake here and there. You know, Golden Boy in Chicago's made a few boners himself. Everything, that's not the way baseball works. I mean, some trades work out for you, some trades are even, some trades are steals, some trades blow up in your fucking face occasionally. I haven't seen anything that Avila's done that I can remember that has sent up a lot of red flags with him as a general manager.
Okay.
Yet, I would be happy to tell you if I did. Believe me, Dombrowski pissed me off. With a lot of the people that he traded away trying to buy a championship and not doing it. I mean, Eugenio Suarez, remember that name? He's a stud down in Cincinnati now. I mentioned him on the show last year. It still sticks in my craw.
He was on my
traded him
fantasy baseball team all last season.
He's awesome. He's a badass. I mean, he's playing a little bandbox down there. He wouldn't be hitting that many home runs up here. But the fact that they gave that up for Alfredo fucking Simon, I have not seen Al Avila make that kind of trade yet. Now, they didn't get anything for J.D. Martinez. When they traded him, they got something. They didn't get enough. They were never going to get enough. You could have Jesus Christ negotiating that trade. Nobody was going to give fair value for J.D. Martinez at the trade deadline. The market just wasn't there. Justin Upton, I think there was a couple other. I mean, it's not their fault. It's the market. They did what they could with the trade. Now, when they traded Verlander, it was kind of the same deal. I felt that Forrest Whitley was the number one pitching prospect in the Astros organization. The Astros didn't want to part with him. I would have liked to have seen them sort of extract that from the Houston system in exchange for Verlander. But what he did was pretty good. I mean, Daz Cameron came in that Verlander trade. He's your center fielder moving forward. He's going to be the center fielder if and when this team contends again. And there's this Perez kid, the pitching prospect. He's had some injuries. It's kind of got me a little concerned. He's been hurt both years he's been here. But he is their top prospect, their number one prospect. I think the number two now that Mize is here.
It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at BetOnline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, two legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at BetOnline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit BetOnline.net today. Bring the game home at BetOnline.net.
It's easy to find flooring online, but imagining those floors on your floor, a bit trickier. So Lumber Liquidators made Picture It, which adds our floors to a photo of your space. Just point, snap, and choose a floor. It's great if you're looking for new floors. Also, still fun if you're not. Try Picture It, only at llflooring.com. These are the floors homes are built on. Get free samples of your favorite floors sent to your home. Visit llflooring.com to order today.
It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at BetOnline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, two legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at BetOnline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit BetOnline.net today. Bring the game home at BetOnline.net. It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at BetOnline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, two legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at BetOnline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit BetOnline.net today. Bring the game home at BetOnline.net.
Sporgy. ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net. Sporgy.
My problem with all the trades you just mentioned is they did what I was talking about the Red Wings we didn't want them to do earlier. They gave away their sure things for some maybes.
Well, they got maybes at least, because if they held on to JD Martinez or any of those other players, they're going to walk, and you're going to get nothing.
He was going to hit free agency. That's fair,
right.
But
they weren't coming back, and they didn't want him to come back.
But Dombrowski did stupid shit. Like if he'd have just made an offer to Polanco and Polanco would have walked, they'd have got You know what I'm trying to say? Sorry.
Yeah.
Draft picks. You let him go for nothing when you could have at least finagled something out of it. That's just not good baseball. That's not good.
I'm not 100% sure that's true at the time. I'd have to look at the collective bargaining thing. I'm not sure that the compensatory draft pick was in place then. I'm not 100% sure, but you may be right. I think it was before that.
I'm pretty sure it was, because it's one of the very few times I ever called into the sports talk station.
Yeah,
like, what the fuck is he doing? I didn't say fuck. I was like, that's so bullshit.
Yeah.
When they let Polanco go, I guess they were thinking, I don't know what the hell they were thinking.
Yeah.
Him and his big head.
Yeah. Dombrowski really, I understand what he was doing, and I think a lot of this came down from Mike Ilitch, that he wanted a championship. He didn't give a fuck about mortgaging the future. He didn't give a shit how it happened. Get me the talent. I'll pay it. Get it here in Detroit. We need to win a World Series.
All you have to do is look at Prince Fielder being here to see that.
Yeah, exactly.
That was Mike Ilitch calling Fielder's agent going, what's it going to take?
Yeah, after that, they were like, we got to keep the phone hidden from the old man.
Now, look at the other side of that, though. Now, that turned into a fucking coup. Now, they're still paying part of Fielder's salary down there. They have to, because the contract was ridiculous. But they flipped a guy who gave Texas 1 year before his career ended because of the neck injury. Yep. They got Ian Kinsler for him. And Kinsler performed really, really well here.
Kinsler was rock solid at second base.
Really well. Yeah. Yeah.
When I heard we traded for Kinsler, I was like, okay, it's nice that second base finally has an anchor out there.
Yeah, Stewart there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not, Ramon Santiago, Mr. I play everything, type player.
There was a prospect in the minor leagues about the time that Polanco was let go. I cannot remember the kid's name. Oh, I can see his face. I can't remember his name, but he was down at AAA at the time, and he thought the whole organization, everybody thought that this kid was going to be the second baseman of the future, and he came up and just didn't do anything.
Well,
he did nothing.
That's probably when they were like, okay, we need to go sign Omar Infante again, put him at second, and then when they traded for Kinsler, they're like, Infante, you can go. It's okay, you know.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean. I worry about bad moves, but then here's the thing: they don't have any incentive to trade away their future at this point.
No,
if they trade away overpriced talent and they can free up some money, which I mean, you know, there's no salary cap, but there's the luxury tax, you know, et cetera, et cetera. I don't even think we're even close to having to worry about that at this point.
No,
you know, so
even with Cabrera's $30 million a year,
and the contracts they're still paying on. Even then, it's not as
well. They're paying on Fielder a little bit, and Jordan Zimmerman is ridiculously expensive. He's making like $20 million a year too.
But basically the contract they offered Scherzer, they turned around and offered to Zimmerman, didn't they?
Yeah, pretty much. It wasn't that much. I mean, I think Scherzer's making 30. I think he signed 7 years, 210.
No. What I'm saying is the contract that the Tigers offered Scherzer when he said no, thank you.
Yeah.
They gave that to Zimmerman.
Yeah. Which was a good move. I mean, you got to keep in mind that when they signed Zimmerman, that still to me was not a bad signing. It didn't work out well, right? But you can't predict neck injuries and all the other shit, because when I always tell people that you have to go back when you criticize Jordan Zimmerman and the money he's making, you have to look at what he did in Washington. He was one of the top 5 or 6 pitchers in all of baseball when he was with the Nationals. And when he came over to Detroit, you have to go back and look at his game log for the first month of the first season he was here. He was incredible. He was dominant. He was all world. He was the pitcher of the month that April. Mm-hmm. And then the injuries kicked in. And this isn't Justin Verlander either. I mean, he's had a couple of nice starts, and he looks like a good pitcher now. But he's had to figure out how to pitch. He's had to figure out how to pitch without 95, 96. He throws maybe 92 now, right? Verlander had to go through the same thing, but Verlander could come back. He got his velocity back. And the reason he's a better pitcher now is because he learned how to pitch without the velocity, and then he got the velocity back, right? That's not going to happen to Verlander. That's not going to happen to Zimmerman. So there's no indication of that.
Jordan Zimmerman's got to fuck Kate Upton.
How Zimmerman got his groove?
Fred Upton. Maybe it's Fred Upton. I don't know.
No deal.
All right.
God, I can't get that image out of my head.
So let's just take a quick rundown of the rest of the teams in the Central. We'll just go it this way. Who do you like coming out of the Central this year?
The American League Central. I mean, every playoff position to me in the American League is already locked up. I don't think there's even any debate about it.
And it's going to be from the Central.
Yeah, it's going to be Cleveland. Okay. They've got some injury things going on. Lindor's out. His ankle's hurt. I think he's got a calf thing going too. And there's, their offense isn't nearly what it's been, but they've got the best 4 starting pitchers in all of baseball. And they're the only team in the Central that can even think about competing with them is the Twins. They're the Twins. I mean, if you look at their roster top to bottom, the Twins do not have the talent, I don't think, in my opinion, to knock off Cleveland. It may happen. It may be a fluky kind of thing, but Minnesota's going to be, I would venture to say, 12 games out at the end of September. I think Cleveland's going to walk away with the division again. And after that, Detroit, Kansas City, Chicago, who cares? Right? Neither one of those 3 teams are really going to do anything. Chicago's getting there. They're on their way up. I mean, 2 years from now, you're going to be trembling at the sight of the Chicago White Sox, I think, but not right now.
I was going to say, I'd read an article in the last day or so. Basically, this writer's opinion was, Indians' championship window is shutting soon here, and that looks to be when that window finally is shut. Just in time for this White Sox rebuild, if it goes to plan, to be hitting its stride.
Yep.
I mean, I know
Minnesota's getting better as well. I mean, it's not going to be a one-team race every year like it has been the last several years with Cleveland. It's going to be Minnesota and Chicago. The Tigers will be kind of, starting to get their 4-hour erection about that time as well, but they're not going to be quite there. So it's going to be the Twins and the White Sox after this sort of mini run Cleveland's on right now, but they don't have the resources. That's exactly right. Cleveland doesn't have the resources to keep that team together. They're not going to keep those 4 pitchers in Cleveland in perpetuity, right? They're a smaller market than Detroit, for fuck's sakes. They're not going to be able to afford any of that moving forward to keep that team competitive. I don't know what their minor league system looks like, but if they've been competing this long, it's probably about as bare as Detroit's was. So dark days ahead for Cleveland. Nobody's ever said that before, huh?
Okay, cue the Randy Newman. Burn on, sweet river. Burn on.
So as far as the other divisions, I mean, in the American League, this is pretty cut and dried. I mean, you've got Boston, New York, pick one at the top. The other team's going to be the wild card. The first wild card out west. You've got Houston. They are far and away the class of the division out there. That could be another. I mean, Oakland won 97 games last year. They're not going to win 97 games again this year. They're not coming out of nowhere. They're not a 97-win team.
You think Seattle's going to right the ship? Because they were good the first half of last year, and then the second half, not so much.
They've lost Paxton. They've lost Cano. They've traded Diaz as well. They're rebuilding. They're 7-1, right?
Yeah,
they are. They are 7-1 right now. This may be the high point of their season. So
talk about peaking during foreplay.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Enjoy it, Seattle fans, because this is you're going to be on your antidepressants by the time August rolls around. Oakland's out there. They're probably, if it was me, I would probably say Oakland or Minnesota's probably going to be the second wild card, but. I mean, that's that. I don't even think there's any debate here unless some divine miracle strikes one of these teams and Moses comes down as a young man and starts hitting the ball all over the place and playing as a two-way player, throwing no-hitters every week. I don't see anyone else in the American League sneaking up on anybody. I don't see Tampa Bay doing anything. No.
What if Miguel Cabrera gets murdered and then we have we sign a free agent? That's the only way we can get out of that contract, right? He's got to die.
Oh yeah. He's not going anywhere.
What are you trying to get the Thurman Munson Express? What the heck is going on here?
I see what you just dropped. Miguel Cabrera gets murdered on me, and I'm thinking Ugueth Urbina or something like that.
Cabrera is from Venezuela.
No, he's
gas can and some matches. He said something about your mother.
Here's the thing I'm worried about with Miggy. He can't get traded. He is on a sinking ship, and you know what they're paying him? He has a contract here for 5 more fucking years at $150 million.
Sure does.
Nobody's taking that contract.
I said he's got to die.
He is going to stay, and he's either going to quit, retire, and leave money on the table, or he's going to be playing hobbled, pulling obliques, tearing bicep muscles, and
God, he's going to be V-Mart Part 2, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah, and people saw this coming. People saw this coming when they signed the contract. They saw the body, they saw his health, they saw the kind of player, the kind of physical specimen that he was, and they said when he signed the contract, this looks great right now. He's winning Triple Crowns, he's the best hitter in baseball and all that, but when he gets older, that body is going to start to wear down. It's starting to wear down. And the man wants to win another championship. He's got pride in all this. He's Miguel Cabrera. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He wants to compete. He wants to win. I'm afraid that he's going to turn into a surly beast who hates his life and hates being in Detroit by the time this contract's up. And I'm afraid of that.
This is wild and reckless speculation on my part. But I do know, due to another podcast that Chris and I listen to, some details of his personal life, and he's kind of going through it. And there has been mumblings of sightings of him at bars locally over the last all over last season sporadically. And I mean, if he's back to drinking and he's got baby mama issues, then an issue with his wife, and he's unhappy here, yeah, he could turn into fucking, the Grinch that stole happiness out of the fucking Tigers locker room real quick.
Right. And what are you going to do about it?
Do nothing.
You release him? You could release him. Really, it could go that way. I mean, it's not going to go that way now.
No, it's going to be a season or two of him being that bad, I'd imagine. Or if he gets busted doing some bullshit drunk again. Dombrowski's not there to get him out before game 163 this time.
Well, there may be a contract issue with that too. Because this happened before he signed that. What you're talking about happened before he signed this contract. He may have language in that contract that says if something like that happens, they have the right to release you and avoid the rest of the deal.
They put it in Bob Probert's contract when he went to the Chicago Blackhawks, and for the 4 years he was on that contract, he was clean. The minute he got off that contract and they signed him to a 2-year contract without that stipulation, back to good old snorting coke.
Look, I love this player. He is the best hitter that I've seen in a Detroit Tigers uniform in my lifetime, hands down. There's not even close. There's not a close second. He may be the best player that I've seen in a Tigers uniform in my lifetime. I love this player. I don't want to shit on him unnecessarily, but I am afraid that contract is going to make him miserable in the end. And if he's miserable, I'm afraid he's going to make the rest of the team miserable. He's going to be on camera pouting, arguing with them. He got kicked out of a spring training game last month, right? You want to see arguing balls and strikes out of a spring training game?
Really?
Yeah.
Spring training? Come on. It's like arguing the spot of a ball in a preseason game.
Yeah, the announcers, that's just Miggy's competitive nature. Is that what that was? Was that competitive nature, or were you just being a bitch?
Am I the only one that remembers the final out of the World Series in 2012 when he watched he took a strike for strike 3? Mm-hmm. If he was so competitive and fiery, why didn't he fucking lose his mind right there? Because at that point, he was considered to have one of the best eyes of any hitter in baseball at that point. Like, period.
Yeah, I do not know. I cannot speculate on and imagine the pressure of having 2 strikes in the last out of the World Series. Maybe you're thinking too much. I don't know. And I don't want to be unfair to the guy. I could be completely wrong about this. I want to see him come out. I want to see him hit 35 home runs. I want to see him march toward 500 home runs either at the end of this year or the beginning of next year, and start to celebrate the guy's accomplishments as the team starts to try to improve itself. That's what I hope happens. But there are little indications here and there that maybe my spidey senses are off, and maybe they're wrong. They could be. But I am concerned that this is going to soil the legacy a little bit. Let's put it that way. So we'll see.
Well, because it's another one of these long-ass huge contracts similar to the one Bryce Harper just signed. Like, he has to retire a Philly, right? With that kind of money?
He can't. His contract isn't that bad. Have you seen the year-to-year breakdown on it? He's making $10 million this year, if you can believe that. They're paying him $10 million this year. And the bulk of his contract is $26 a year. He's making less than Cabrera. And then I think the last year of the contract, I think he's making like 23. And that's like 11, 12 years from now. And he's making less than he's going to be making like the next 10. His contract isn't bad. His thing was he could have gotten more money. He could have gotten more average annual value from people like the Giants or the Dodgers. He wanted years. He wanted to be in one city. He wanted security. He didn't want to be traded. He wanted a no-trade clause. He didn't want any opt-outs. He could have gotten opt-outs. Like J.D. Martinez can be a free agent at the end of this year or next year, right?
Yeah, that was a lot of talk about his contract. We hope he's the one who didn't want the opt-out, because if he did, he's fucked.
Yeah, he didn't have that language built into the contract. That's like the trend now, right? None of it. Yeah. He wants to stay in Philadelphia. He wants to retire as a Philly.
Yeah,
but from Philly?
Machado's contract, he can opt out after 5, I believe.
Machado's a bitch. I hate Manny Machado. Manny Machado, San Diego's the perfect fucking place for that bitch to play.
We found the Bobby Hurley of this episode.
Oh, absolutely. I cannot stand Manny Machado. He is Alex Rodriguez without the steroids, to me. I can't stand him. I hate watching him play. I hate watching him not hustle. I'm just not the type of player that's going to be Johnny Hustle. Go fuck yourself. Run the fucking ball out, bitch. Yeah, he said that during the World
Series. His coach kept him?
During the World Series last year, he said that. That's why nobody signed him this year. That's one of the. I mean, he's supremely talented.
Reason.
He's young. Yeah, he plays great defense. He's got a great bat, but he's a bitch. Nobody fucking wanted him.
You specifically stated you weren't going to. You don't try. Why would a team want you?
Exactly. I mean, he had people that were interested in him because he's talented. But you see, there are like 2 or 3 teams in Major League Baseball I despise, that I will never root for. I can't stand them. One's the California Angels, the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the San Diego fucking Padres. Damn. This is the perfect place for this little bitch to be playing baseball, because I will never
West Coast baseball.
I don't like a lot of teams in that division. I worked for the Rockies. I saw those teams a lot. Like, it was like every other day the Diamondbacks and the Padres were in town. But I've never liked them. I don't like expansion teams to begin with. I like teams that have been around for 100 years. So it's really hard for me to cheer for a team that's been an expansion team at some point in time, like the Padres, the Diamondbacks. Trying to think of another. Seattle.
You took the check from the Rockies, though.
What's that?
I said you took the check from the Rockies, though.
Yeah, so I could go watch the Dodgers, the Giants, the Cubs. Yeah, it was whatever. Yeah, they're paying me. Yeah, of course I took the fucking check. You would too.
Hey, Todd.
Didn't say I wouldn't.
Todd.
Yeah.
Real quick, did you hear what the Baltimore Orioles did with Hess?
With what?
With Hess, the pitcher?
Yeah, they pulled him out. He had a no-hitter going in the 7th inning.
He had the no-no, dude. What the hell?
He had like 80 pitches.
What? Wait, huh?
Yeah, he had a no-hitter.
7th inning, 80 pitches. They pulled him?
No-no.
Yeah.
On a no-no.
Yep.
What's up with that?
Yeah, pitch count. I guess. I don't know.
Pitch count is ruining baseball.
Yeah, the Orioles aren't a real baseball team at this point. They're not a major league team. They're going to lose 115 games this year. They're going to threaten the Mets for losses. It's an embarrassment for that franchise. An embarrassment to have the Baltimore Orioles that bad. But that's what we were talking about with the Red Wings, though, Rich. That's what happens when you have a team that's tanking on purpose to rebuild their farm system quickly with draft picks. You get an inept, flaccidly limp team like the Baltimore Orioles getting bludgeoned by the Red Sox, the Yankees, and Toronto, and even Tampa's going to kick the snot. This is one of the hardest divisions in baseball. You've got probably the 2 best teams in baseball playing 19 games each year against a single or double A team. How is that? That's terrible for baseball. Horrendous. It's an embarrassment. But
fair. Anyway, I mean, hey, you changed my mind. So I mean,
yeah, that's kind of where to me, that's kind of where the argument came from. But to kind of counter my point, I'm looking at the standings here. The Orioles are 4-1 right now. They beat the Yankees 2 out of 3 this weekend. So,
well, if they got a pitcher following the no-no through 6 innings, yeah.
Anyway, to finish my Manny Machado rant, though, I hate that man. I hate him with a passion. I do not want to see him ever win anything. I want to see him toil in backwoods, bush league, obscurity, which to me is San Diego. I know it's a beautiful place and all that, but I don't want to have him on my television at all. And hopefully San Diego doesn't make the playoffs, so I don't have to hear his fucking name.
Well, I had to be a paycheck, right? Because who's in San Diego? Hosmer,
well, they've got a lot. They have the best farm system in baseball. Fernando Tatis Jr. came up. They actually, to give San Diego credit, the organization, they did not sign him to an extension, and they broke camp with him, starting his free agent clock. He's the number 2 prospect in all of baseball behind Vlad Guerrero Jr., and he's really, really good. Hit his first home run, I think, today or yesterday. So they've got, that's the thing. They're going to be good soon. They're going to be the White Sox before the White Sox are the White Sox.
By the way, to further shit on your point, Todd, the Mets are 4-1.
The Mets are good. The Mets are good. Did you see what the Mets did this year? Robinson Cano, Edwin Diaz, probably most dominant reliever in the American League last year. They've still got Syndergaard and DeGrom. They are not bad.
You know, I got
the White Thor.
Yeah,
I know. White Thor. Okay. Yeah, I know.
That's a throwback.
I know when the first time it came up, I'm like, this is redundant. It's like the Black Shaft. So there was a white one. Did I miss that reboot? was it Teddy Savalas? Was that who the White Shaft was? I did want to ask about Cano because it seemed like he went out to Seattle knowing that he's going to get paid but he also had to know that he's giving up being a baseball player in New York, and he seemed like he was okay with it. Now he's back. Now he's with the Mets. Yes, the Mets are always going to play second fiddle to the Yankees. But I mean, I did I misread this guy when I took it that he just didn't want the spotlight on him like that in New York? Or is this now he thinks that, well, it's the Mets and they also made a couple other signings, so I can go back to what it was when, you know, it was 2006 with the Yankees. It was Murderers Row plus Cano.
Right.
You know.
I think what happened when he went to Seattle was I think he followed the money. I don't think it really matters to him where he's playing. I think that I just don't understand. To me, anyway, I never understood why Robinson Cano would go from the New York fucking Yankees to the Seattle fucking Mariners. I never understood that as a baseball player, why he would do that other than Seattle threw an ungodly amount of money at him and overwhelmed him financially. I don't have the details of his contract in front of me. I don't know that he had a no-trade clause. I don't know that they had to clear a trade to get rid of that contract to send it to New York, but that's why he's back in New York. I mean, they can afford him. And they had the prospects to send back to Seattle to make it worthwhile.
Well, yeah, but we also know that I don't know if he's this type of player anymore or if he ever was really, but we know that there's players that can be like, if you trade me to a team that I don't want to go to, like Mike Piazza, here you go. You're on the Marlins now. No, I'm not. Watch this. You know what I'm saying? Like, that could happen. I don't know if he's got the clout to pull that off, but I mean, I kind of got the feeling it was more of a let me go cash in. And if he did have a no-trade clause that he waived, maybe he looks at it as like, okay, I've made enough money for me and my family for quite a while. Like even a couple rehab trips for the grandkids. So I
made enough money for his family and a couple of generations beyond.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Really, really well.
Yeah. So he's like, okay, well, let me go back and actually try to do this thing. You know what I'm saying? If that's the case, I got respect for him as a player. If it's more of a case of just, I didn't really like the spotlight, I'm shying away from it. Like, I guess I understand that. But at the same time, dude, it's not like you were Mike Trout playing in New York. With, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, Mike Trout would be, to me, way, way bigger if he played on the East Coast.
Absolutely. We talked about this last year.
Yeah. And the fact that he signed the extension that he did to stay in L.A. tells me everything I need to know about him. The man's loyal, maybe to a fault. 2, he likes L.A., and 3, he must see something coming down the pike that I just don't when it comes to that team as far as building towards a championship run. Because
nobody sees that.
Okay,
that's been.
He's 25, rich as hell, and California pussy. I mean, there's three reasons to stay with the Angels.
Oh man, I had like the stupidest moment ever about baseball right now. Baseball is the only
sport. You trying to talk about it with us?
Shut up. Baseball is the only sport that you could have the GOAT and not win the championship. You could have the greatest person ever on a baseball team and not win shit.
Yes. Yeah. Ted Williams never won a World Series. Carl Yastrzemski never won a World Series.
Talking about Mike Trout is a good time to make that point.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I was thinking Mike Trout, but I was thinking, you know, we were talking about, you know, Jordan and all them, they championship, greatest ever, whatever. You know, Brady, championship, greatest ever, whatever. You can rotate all the players on the fields and on the courts, but if you have him, you're going to win.
Wait a minute. What about Barry Sanders?
Baseball.
They're a better running back. He never won a championship.
Yeah, but the problem is Barry Sanders played for the Lions.
The SOL, you know.
The SOL, yes.
The problem was written on the front of his jersey.
Right. But yeah, it doesn't matter with baseball. You could have the best home run hitter ever, but if your pitch sucks, you're going to lose anyway.
Yeah. You could have the best pitcher in the game at the moment. He's one of 5 in a rotation. 4 when you get to the post. Right. He can't go out there every fucking day.
Yeah,
Bob Gibson could go every day.
If he went out and
Justin Verlander looking at you.
If he went out, if you had you had Jesus Christ on the mound. I love to use that example. It's probably the 4th time I've used it. But if you had Christ on the mound and he went out and threw immaculate, perfect games every start, your team's only winning 32 to 34 games.
Yep.
And if you have nothing else, that doesn't do anything for you. Right? Yeah, Trout is. I don't know. I don't have the contract. I knew we were going to talk contracts, and I didn't bother to look it up. And I think he signed, was it 10 or 12 years for Trout? Do you guys remember?
God, I want to say 12.
Yeah, it was an extension and total value beyond what he's getting paid. I think it was 10, but they're counting 2 years that are still left on his current contract. So maybe that's where the discrepancy comes from. Either way, he's let's say it's 10 years, and I think it's without those 2 years he's got left, I think it's $360 million. Compare what he's making, average annual value, to what Harper's making. And that, I think, is why you're seeing Trout staying in L.A.
By the way, 12 years, $430 million.
Right, but 2 of those years are on the current deal. It's an extension. It's a true extension. So this deal doesn't kick in until his current deal is done. So I think it's 10 years, 360 that he actually signed as an extension.
Is this the contract that's the most in sports history?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he's signed basically, if I'm right about that, and I'm sure that somebody will tell me if I'm not, but if I'm right about that, he's signed 10 years, $360 million. He's got a $36 million average annual value on that. He's making $10 million more a year than than Harper signed for in Philadelphia on that deal. So that's why, you're talking the greatest player in the game staying in that shithole franchise. Nobody sees anything coming. I mean, there's no indication the Angels are going to be a good team anytime soon. They've got a good jump start with Mike Trout in center field every year. But no, I mean, I wish he would leave. I wish he would go somewhere to some team with some sense of heritage, some sense of branding, something that makes me want to root for the guy. I mean, he's just there. He's the best player in the sport, hands down. He's a fucking angel.
27 years old. Good God, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, good for him. If that's what he wants, he's going to be an angel for life. I mean, apparently, unless they figure out a way to get rid of him at some point. But you don't see that very often anymore. You don't see a player staying with one franchise like we used to, like Trammell Whitaker, Tigers, their whole career, right? Nobody does that. His
lifetime is 307.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
His batting average?
Yeah.
Look at Miggy's. It's like almost like 325 or something like that. Yeah, he's just an all-around player, though. And he's young. He's just entering his prime. He's going to be, fun to watch for people out in L.A. But as far as he should be the face of baseball, he's just never going to be the face of baseball as an Angel.
Yeah, he pretty much, I remember that was the first thing that came to mind after, holy shit, how much? Yeah. The very next thing was, well, I guess he really doesn't want to be the baseball's golden boy, because he just guaranteed it's just not going to happen.
It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at BetOnline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, 2 legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at BetOnline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit BetOnline.net today. Bring the game home at BetOnline.net. It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at BetOnline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, 2 legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at BetOnline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit BetOnline.net today. Bring the game home at BetOnline.net. It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at BetOnline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, 2 legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at BetOnline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit BetOnline.net today. Bring the game home at BetOnline.net. It's the divisional round, and you can follow all the action at betonline.net. On Saturday, LA visits the frozen tundra of Green Bay, while Baltimore and Buffalo face off with their electric third-year quarterbacks. On Sunday, and after winning their first playoff game in 26 years, Cleveland meets last year's champs. In the late game, two legendary future Hall of Fame QBs square off as Tampa visits the Big Easy. Check out all the action this week at betonline.net as teams take one step closer to the championship. Always available online or your mobile device. Visit betonline.net today. Bring the game home at betonline.net.
Sporgy. ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net. Sporgy.
I get the feeling that there are purists out there who like to think back to the good old days of baseball when, like, New York was like the mecca of baseball. Because at one point, didn't they have, including a Negro League team, 4 professional baseball teams out there?
Had the Yankees, Giants, Dodgers,
and then
they had the Negro League teams. But.
Yeah, so I mean, it was like, and don't sleep on it. I mean, I know the Negro League teams don't get as much, historically, as necessarily like MLB teams. Don't sleep on the fuckers that were in that league. Those are some of the best players of the time. No, I'm talking to people listening. Go if you can find it. Go back and read up on it.
Josh Gibson. Go read up on Josh Gibson, Cool Papa Bell. I mean, the league, had they been able to play in the major leagues, baseball history would not look anything like what it does now.
Chris points that out all the time, and that's absolute truth right there.
I mean, Josh Gibson, I think he died of a brain tumor really young, I think. But if you go back and look at the stuff that he was doing in the Negro Leagues, and you compare it to Jackie Robinson, I mean, you can directly compare. Jackie Robinson played in the Negro Leagues. You can compare what he was doing, Jackie was doing in the Negro Leagues. You can extrapolate that out to the major leagues. Everybody knows how great he was when he came to play in MLB, right? Look what Josh Gibson was doing in the Negro Leagues, and then do the same extrapolation to MLB. You've got a Willie Mays. Willie Mays played in the Negro Leagues, I think, for a year or so. I mean, it's really they don't get a lot of love. I mean, people don't mention the Negro Leagues all that often anymore. They've got a museum in Kansas City, but it is the history is it's so rich, deep. The players were incredible.
Well, Satchel Paige was so good. His ass was out there damn near with a walker pitching in the MLB just so they could get him in there. You know. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was old. He was in his, late 40s?
Yeah, literally. I think he debuted as a rookie. He was like maybe almost 40.
Yeah, fuck Ichiro.
Yeah.
Gibson played for 16 years. His lifetime batting average is .359.
Mm-hmm. Look at Jackie Robinson. What was his Negro League average?
Stand by.
But yeah, I mean, and that's one of the beautiful things about the Ken Burns baseball documentary. Because I mean, the first time I watched it, I had no idea that in the off season, the MLB players and Negro League players would barnstorm and play each other, go from town to town playing each other. I would have loved if they kept fucking official score on those games just to see. You know what I'm saying? The beats that went back and forth, and who, what could Satchel Paige do against Major League hitting? What could he really do? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is when he was young. When he was actually physically vibrant, it really is. I mean, it's kind of tragic in a way. I'm not saying that to be melodramatic or anything, to curry favor with anybody, but I would really have loved to have seen Josh Gibson hit at Wrigley Field on a regular basis.
Oh yeah,
or at Old Tiger Stadium. Can you see him as a catcher for the '68 team? That was beyond his time. But you get my point. See him hitting at Tiger Stadium.
Yeah,
I mean,
Jackie Robinson is 1 year in the Negro Leagues, 387.
Yeah, 387. So Josh Gibson hit. You said lifetime 357.
359.
359. How many home runs did he hit?
It doesn't have an exact number. It says somewhere between 800 and 1,000. That sounds a little. That's Wikipedia.
Well, I can tell you this. I think it's pretty much agreed upon by baseball historians.
Yeah.
It's over 800.
I looked at the wrong thing. Nope. That's Jackie Robinson. Wrong black guy. Apparently they all look alike to me. Stand by.
Jesus Christ. His name is Chris. My name is Todd.
Well, I was just going to say, when you come to the party, I got another Arab coming, so I might get you two confused because y'all just look the same.
I know, right? I'll be the one wearing the blue towel.
I was going to say, please just wear different color towels like that.
It's like, me and a Scottish guy standing next to each other, and we're like, so you guys are Irish? And I'm like, ooh, you're about to get your ass kicked. He's Scottish. They don't like that.
The best I'm getting is 359 batting average, 648 slugging percentage, and upwards of 800 to 1,000 home runs.
Yeah. So you can extrapolate that, though. You look at Jackie Robinson. He's hitting 387 his 1 year in the Negro Leagues. He was probably a decent, I think, like a 315 batting average in the major leagues or something, like maybe around 300. I forget. So you can kind of extrapolate that. You take an 800 home run hitter, you do the sort of the math, the equivalency on that. The guy's hitting probably 500 home runs in the major leagues, I would guess.
I'd imagine.
As a catcher.
Yeah.
And we'd say Babe who?
Yeah, we'd be going, Mike Piazza? The best power hitting catcher? No.
Yeah, he's Piazza-esque. I think that's a fair comp. I mean, it's all abstract. We're never.
Well, no, but I'm talking about like if Josh Gibson had produced those numbers before Piazza, it would definitely have been that would be the argument. Who was the best power hitting catcher ever out of these two in Major League Baseball?
Lance Parrish.
Yeah. Get the fuck out of here! Stop saying just because it's a name that you remember from '84. Stop ejaculating it out of nowhere.
Matt Nowhere for the win.
What do you got? Podcast-induced Tourette's? What the fuck? You just shout shit out when you get a mic in front of you? Oh man. Well, anyways, just one last thing about the Negro Leagues. If you ever do a little digging into like Ty Cobb, you know that he wasn't exactly a fan of our darker complected brethren, but he was a fan of the Negro League style of play. The players, he championed for them, and like, go watch it. This is good baseball. You're missing out. And that's I had nothing really good to say about anybody from the dark continent. So what's that?
I'm gonna say this as I know better than to say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. You have to be.
Oh shit.
Yeah, you have to be a little skeptical of the Ty Cobb racist trope. Now, I'm not saying he wasn't racist, but what I'm saying, there are these other anecdotes that you don't hear quite as often. Everybody likes to hear to take the Al Stump book version into account, and everybody loves to sort of take these old 100-year-old anecdotes into account as well. But there were a lot of people who sort of championed for Cobb to say, yeah, he wasn't really all that bad. A lot of this was an anti-Cobb public relations campaign to sort of soil his character. Now, it doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? I mean, if he's such a raging racist, why would he champion to have black players in the major leagues? I mean, he's got his built-in racist excuse already, right?
He's the Georgia Peach
fan. Yeah, so I mean, I just would. I'm not trying to make judgment calls, and I'm not trying to tell people to sort of ignore everything they've always heard. But understand, there's probably a lot more nuance to that story, the authentic story of who and what Ty Cobb was, than what you've been told. Yeah, I think you should probably go a little bit farther than the Al Stump book. If you really want to learn about him.
In 2005, the Free Press put out like a 3-page story, like opening day week leading up to opening day, and one of the 3-page story was about Ty Cobb myth, the myth, and the legend, and the infamy versus the actual truth that they could prove. Right. And basically, what they came to at the end of it was he was a mean old bastard, didn't like a whole lot of anybody.
Yeah.
But if he respected you, he respected you.
Right.
It may not mean he didn't like you. He could be like, I hate your guts, but goddamn it, you can play some fucking ball.
And that was his thing. That's all he wanted. That was his one thing. He wanted a warrior on the baseball field.
Exactly.
He didn't like pussies. He may kill motherfuckers if he lived today.
It brings it all back around.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, his story is. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. SABR and a lot of the other organizations are really worth looking into if you want to get some of the more nuanced stories about Cobb and some of these other old-time players.
Well, I mean, like, here's the deal. I have no doubt that he probably wasn't like a champion of the civil rights movement because he
and MLK weren't sitting down and having dinner in 1960. I don't think.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So but it's not an excuse, but I mean, how many people were that weren't part of the civil rights movement? How many white people were standing up and stomping their feet and lighting a candle for civil rights back then? Right. It was, you have to take into consideration the context of history. And I think too many people these days try to put today's standards on everything throughout history, and it's like it doesn't work that way. You can judge them by today's standards, but you can't say that today's standards was what the standards were 110 years ago.
Can't retroactively prosecute someone for crimes that weren't crimes then. There were cultural standards that were different than there are now.
What's the old cliche? It was a different time.
Yeah. Well, if you're self-righteous and you like the smell of your own farts, that doesn't matter.
Ooh.
I'm awesome. Look how evolved I am.
I just bought a Prius.
Oh my God, Joe Biden's creepy. Look what he did 15 years ago.
He sniffed that girl's hair almost as hard as I huffed my own farts.
He assaulted me with his nose against my nose.
Whatever, man. Whatever. Like sniffing hair has always been creepy. Anytime I see a guy do it, I'm like, creep. What's wrong with you, dude? Like, walk past the chicken. Make a big deal about it. I
always like the smell. I like the smell of a Breck girl. What can I say? I just totally dated myself, didn't I?
Somewhere a 60-year-old is laughing, Todd.
Somewhere a millennial's looking up Breck girl.
Yeah.
So, the 60-year-old is like, I'm so glad my grandson set me up to learn about these podcasts. I need to hear internets. I got that reference. That's what I understood.
All right, let's finish this rundown of the preview thing. And we've been going at this for a while. We still haven't even touched the National League or the contracts.
We're about to lose Earl here, I think, in a little bit. He's got some work issues. So let's hop to the National League.
4 teams in the American League or the National League East that can win that division: Phillies, Mets, Braves, Nationals. All are in contention. So the only team that's not is the Miami Marlins, Jeter's team, and fuck them. Who cares? We'll get back to them in about 2 years. The Central's interesting. You've got at least I have 4 teams that can win that division as well. I went out on a limb last year, said watch out for the Brewers.
Yes, you did.
Felt pretty good about that come October. This year's pick, the surprise pick, is going to be the Cincinnati Reds. Same division.
Shit.
They did a lot of things in the offseason. Now, a lot of it's going to come down to injuries. It's going to come down to Yasiel Puig, but I like Yasiel Puig hitting in that tiny ballpark. He hasn't done shit yet, but when the weather warms up, that offense, Scooter Gennett got hurt. He's out for, a few weeks, I guess. But when that team comes together, they've already got Suarez, they've already got Votto. They have done some things in the offseason. That team is worth keeping an eye on.
See, this is that shit that you did last year with the Brewers, and I was just kind of sitting here like, really? Like, I wasn't like scoffing, but internally I was like, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Now what I'm doing is like, hey, Chris, when's your next trip to Vegas? I might give you a few bucks to put down on, Cincinnati.
Yeah, don't blame me.
The World Series.
Again, this is going to be the surprise team. They may not do anything, but that's just something that I've been watching what they did over the winter. I've been watching the composition of that team, and nobody else stands out in the East in the Central. There's good teams in the Central, but nobody is heads and tails above anybody else. The Cubs have been underperforming. They were shut out more times than all but one team in baseball last year. Madden is on the hot seat. They're just not doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? St. Louis doesn't have a lot of pitching. They got Goldschmidt, but they don't have a lot of pitching. Milwaukee lost Knebel. He's out with Tommy John surgery. They never really addressed their starting pitching issue. They took 3 members of that bullpen from last year, put him in the starting rotation. They're tied to Craig Kimbrell. He may end up signing there and all that. But there's no standout team in that division, which leads me to believe that a surprise team like the Reds could gurgle forth to the top and at least contend for a wild card, if not the division title. And then out west, the Dodgers.
Well, I just want to say real quick about Central, National League Central. It's interesting that you said what you said, because I did read an article from one of the Cardinals' hometown papers that was like, I think the title was like, Brewers remind Cards and the Cubs why or who the NL Central favorite is. Like basically saying like, hey, look, we're still the ones that won it last year. Mm-hmm. What have you guys done? Have you guys done anything to prove that we're not the favorite to win it again this year? So that's interesting because the Reds, I would never even in a million years have been like, yeah, that's who he's going to come out with as his dark horse this year on the show. So you surprised me yet again. It's the only one that I can see, though. I mean, every other division, I mean, there is no real dark horse out there other than Cincinnati. I mean, I think you could almost chisel the American League into stone at this point. The only thing that's up for grabs is one wild card, and it's April, right? But in the National League, a lot of teams are contending, and that's the only team that I can think of that nobody's really paying attention to that I think could jump out. Maybe San Diego, but probably not. They don't have the pitching for it. But other than that, it seems like everybody's in contention in the National League and nobody's in contention in the American League.
Did the Dodgers get it done this year? They could. They could. They didn't do anything to really hurt themselves in the offseason. Kershaw's not Kershaw at this point, so that would be a red flag. But Walker Buehler is probably a Cy Young candidate in waiting. So yeah, they're the class of the division. They're probably the class of the National League, depending upon who comes out of the East and what happens with the Phillies. Phillies are going to be good. They're going to be really good. They just don't have anybody much beyond Nola and Arrieta in the rotation. So that's the one thing. But Keuchel's still out there.
See, so, I guess I've been underselling the Phillies because in my mind I'm like, I mean, obviously it's nice to add Harper, but I'm like, I didn't see that as even close to getting them over the hump.
Well, they added a lot more than Harper. They got Real Muto, they got Segura, they signed Andrew McCutchen.
Shit, they did get Muto, didn't they?
Yeah, they got Andrew McCutchen, who's hitting really well.
I also forgot about McCutchen. Shit.
Yeah, they did a lot of things, man. That team is Maikel Franco, I think, has 3 home runs now. I think I might have that off. I might be off a little bit on that, but he seems to be inspired. And there's a lot of energy around that team now with Harper. That team has a vibe to it. I watched the game tonight. Did you guys see what he did tonight? We're recording the night of his return to Washington. And his first game back in D.C. faced Max Scherzer, struck out the first 2 times up. Got booed like crazy, too, man. The crowd went nuts booing him. He struck out the first 2 times against Scherzer. His next 3 at-bats, first one against Scherzer, he doubled. Second at-bat against some other reliever, had an RBI single. And his third at-bat, he hit a 465-foot home run into the upper deck in the right field.
Did he go around the base path going, shh? Like who you booing, motherfuckers?
Did he pull out his balls while rounding third?
he might as well have. And it's really neat because this was a bizarre game. It was really fun to watch because there's this great story that I heard Bob Costas telling that there was a guy in like a real estate company or something like that in Philadelphia who back in December, before Harper signed, like 2 months before he signed, saw this game on the schedule and bought like 300 or 400 seats in right field. In Washington, right? Harper signed. They had a promotion for the company that they provided bus transportation, a ticket, all the beer you could drink on the bus during the tailgate before the game, and on the bus ride back, plus the ticket in right field for all these Phillies fans, right next to Harper, for like $159. They took 10 bus loads of Phillies fans from Philadelphia to D.C. They had a rain delay to start the game tonight.
So with all you can drink beer? A horse got punched somewhere.
Oh my fucking God. It was insane because a lot of people left, or at least some people left during the rain delay. The game went on. It was a long game. By the time Harper hit his home run, almost everybody in the stadium that was left were Philly fans.
Nice.
Yeah, it was just insane to see. I mean, there's something about that team that I don't want to pick them because of the pitching situation and all that, and I don't want to go against the Nationals because everybody picks them every fucking year, even though they never do anything. But there's something about that team, something about what they've done with the talent they brought in, the energy they brought in, the attitude, the edge they brought in, I don't think you can sleep on them. I think they may have possibly done enough where they can ride momentum, energy, however you want to look at it, and get themselves in a position to contend at the end of the year. So it's just a fun team to watch, man. It really is. And that was just, Harper. He goes back his first game back. He's being booed all night. Hits a 465-foot bomb. It was awesome.
And he had the scoreboard operator write, "How's my dick taste?" on the scoreboard.
So yeah, it's a crapshoot, really. I mean, if I had to pick a team coming out of the National League, I mean, just because it's such a potpourri of possibilities, I would probably have to say the Dodgers because I think they're the most talented team in the league. But it could be the Dodgers, it could be the Phillies, it could be the Nationals. Wouldn't sleep on the Mets. They've done some things, and yeah, maybe somebody out of the Central. Maybe the Cubs finally put it back together again and contend. But if I were to pick somebody, it's going to be the Dodgers, I guess, out of the American League, probably the National League, probably the Red Sox out of the American League.
Gee, 2 years in a row?
Yeah.
Boston, L.A.?
Yeah. I don't see New York's hurt. They may have lost Andujar. He's got a labrum tear. I think he's going to take some treatment for a couple of weeks. He may have season-ending surgery. They've got Gregorius on the DL. I think he had Tommy John surgery, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Severino is on the DL. He's out for a few weeks. Stanton went on the IL this week as well. So, yeah, they've been really, really hit hard with injuries to start the season. And it's just one of those things. I mean, the Yankees and the Red Sox are going to be there, but I don't know how you go against Boston at this point. So
they are rather machine-like.
Yeah, they are. And I'm rooting for JD Martinez. I want to see him win another one. He's kind of neat, but
well, that's what we were calling. The Red Sox last season, especially when the postseason started. We're like, oh, you mean the Detroit Tigers East?
Yeah, no kidding.
Like everybody here was like, go Sox. And I'm like, really? What have you've been watching a lot of Good Will Hunting lately? What the fuck? I thought we hated the Red Sox. I thought they turned into the Yankees after they finally won their first World Series. And they're like, yeah, but half our team's there.
Yeah. Who is out there? You've got David Price. You've got Porcello, who was a Tiger. You've got JD Martinez. You had Kinsler last year.
You had Kinsler. You got Dombrowski.
And now you even got
Mario. Mario
and Pembla.
Radio guy.
Yeah.
He took Mario from us.
Mario took himself from us.
Mario took himself from us.
Well, because I mean, let's be honest here. Rod Allen is such a level-headed person, especially, you can't look up any clips from him and playing in Japan, beating on some little guy, right?
Right.
Come on now. I mean, I'm not saying that Mario wasn't a dick because from the scuttlebutt up here behind the scenes was they both kind of hit like Devo levels a few years ago that were getting insufferable.
Yeah.
And then they started doing it with each other, and it's like, Mario, you're not going to win that battle. This man was a professional athlete. You literally look like Mario from Mario. So, you better call Luigi and Toad for backup, homeboy.
Yeah. One final thing, I guess, I wanted to kind of touch on as far as the baseball thing goes is the contract situation. Baseball's changing, and it's changing dramatically. Like we were talking about the Miguel Cabrera contracts and the Prince Fielder contracts. Those things are a thing of the past. They're going to become a relic. We had 3 more extensions signed today. Ronald Acuna Jr. with the Braves signed up for 8 years, $100 million. Think about that. The kid's, 22? And they have him locked up for 8 years and got him for $100 million. Less than a third of what Harper's total contract value is.
I was about to say, I didn't think that in my lifetime I'd go, that's a pretty good deal.
That's got a pretty awesome deal. That's an awesome deal, yeah. Marquez, pitcher for the Rockies. He's the first pitcher that's ever qualified for an ERA title, 162 innings or something like that ever averaged 10 strikeouts per 9 innings for the Rockies organization. First time it's ever done. He signed, I think, a 5-year extension, and Randall Grichuk up in Toronto signed one as well. And Verlander, you nailed this one last year, Rich. I went back and listened to the podcast, and you said, well, Verlander could sign an extension down there or re-up his contract in Houston. Did exactly that. Signed up, they extended him for another 2 years, and Bogart signed one. So this is the trend now. that you're not just going to let these players reach free agency and start demanding all sorts of money. And you're going to sign these young players up to really team-friendly contracts, but you're also assuming a lot of risk, right? There's the kid in Chicago, Eloy Jimenez, broke camp with the team after he signed like a 7 or 8 year deal. He had never played a game in the major leagues, and they locked him up. So it's great when these for the team, especially in a situation like Acuna or a no can't miss prospect, because these players are going to be signed up to really team-friendly contracts if they perform. Now, you're also bearing the risk of if the player doesn't develop how they're supposed to, if they get hurt like Fulmer did this year, right? So I think it's a really good deal for both the player and the club as well, because you're not allocating all these resources to where you can't put people around them later on when you're ready to contend. So it's really interesting to see this, how it's happening. And I think Kansas City did a little bit of this, but the Chicago White Sox, I think, with Chris Sale, were the first ones that I could think of that actually pulled this off. And it's going to make, if it sticks around and the union doesn't throw a hissy fit, I think it could make baseball a lot more competitive top to bottom moving forward. So,
well, yeah, because I mean, at a certain point, it's like, okay, I understand that oh shit, who's Harper's agent? God damn it,
Boris.
Scott Boras.
Boris, yes, thank you. I understand that, he's got the reputation of, I'm a shark. I want to get as much as I can for my clients, et cetera, et cetera. But at a certain point, I'm like, okay, our team's going to start backing up off the accelerator. Like, look, we'll give you a lot of money, but every fucking new free agent can't be the record contract.
Right.
It's just, we can't sustain that way. Because I don't know, New York, Boston, Chicago, LA, the strongholds, St. Louis. Even if St. Louis sucks, they probably have amazing attendance. Because they're
good baseball town. Yeah.
Yeah. They're in the running for the best in America, I'd say.
Yeah.
Attendance is starting to become an issue to other teams. We're just with the HD televisions, the surround sound systems, the camera's getting better. Them using better, more interesting camera angles to actually almost add drama to the game, instead of just right over the pitcher's shoulder into the home plate and then cut to, follow the ball, show the runner running. If he's taking an extra base, follow the ball. Okay. Like they're actually starting to do what they do in the postseason for local teams.
Right.
So, I mean, it's making people go, why the fuck would I want to go to the ballpark and spend $400 for 3 people?
Right.
Especially not a product that's good. It's, so I had to wonder about those contracts because it's like the bubble's got to burst eventually. It's just it can't keep going.
It has, and people, the teams they're not doing what they did with Cabrera and what they did with a lot of these other players, where you're not signing a free agent to these long-term deals where you're essentially paying the player for what he did for somebody else before.
Yeah, exactly.
You're actually paying the player for what he's going to do, or you project he's going to do for you for the next 8 years. And if you're 30 years old, like Craig Kimbrell or Dallas Keuchel, who remain unsigned, 2 really good pitchers. I mean, the closer for the fucking Red Sox, the world champion Red Sox, is still unsigned. Mm-hmm. But he's 30, 31 years old, and he thinks he's going to get paid for what he did in his 20s. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to give you a long-term deal at $15 million a year for what you're about to do moving forward, because every single one of these teams expects you to decline, right? Keuchel's the same way. You were great. What are you going to do for us as we move forward? You want what? No, don't think so. Good luck in your search. And that is smart fiscal baseball. That's how you don't get a Miguel Cabrera as an albatross contract for another 5 years.
I absolutely agree with that. The thing was there was rumblings of, is this collusion on the owner's part in the off season? And it's like, how did Harper and Machado and all these guys, all these free agents go this deep into the off season without being signed? Is this the owners trying to artificially drive the paychecks down for these players? And I mean, whether or not that's what's going on, it's not like it'd be the first time in baseball history that it happened.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's a valid question to look into, Now, it didn't get to the point of like, a fucking lawsuit or anything, so I imagine it was pretty much just a lot of griping, and probably agents here release this memo, anonymously and act like it came from someone in MLB.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was on MLB Network today. They put it pretty well, though. It might have been Costas. The market has changed. The players wanted the ability to take their talents to an open market and be paid open market value, right? Well, the market value for these older players has changed. It's decreased. They do not want to pay you. They don't think you're worth what you were worth in your 30s 5 or 6 years ago. That's simple. I mean, it's very, very simple. You're going to get these players who came up at 18, 19, 20 years old. Tatis Jr., there's a couple other players out there that came up like Harper and Machado at 19 or 20 years old. They're going to hit free agency when they're 25, 26, and they're going to get fucking paid because they're young, because they're still in their mid-20s. And they're still going to get those $300, $400 million contracts like Trout did. But everybody else now, I mean, there's a reason that Craig Kimbrell, a borderline Hall of Fame closer, and Dallas Keuchel are still not playing because they still think that they're worth what they would have been worth 5 or 6 years ago. And they're just not. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants to pay that for them in their 30s. And I think that's smart as fuck. Now,
not only that, but I mean, I hate to say it, hate to sound like this guy, but we already went over this. Life isn't fair. Sorry about your luck. This is where your free agency hits in this time in the economic downturn or the changing economics of baseball. Sorry about your luck, dude.
Life ain't fair.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Now the problem moving forward is that the middle tier players, the top end players like Harper, Machado, they're getting paid, right? The average player isn't. The sort of what they call the middle class, which is sort of an insult to the middle class, but we'll go with it. The middle class Major League Baseball player isn't making what they used to. Their average salary is dropping. The collective bargaining agreement ends in like 2 years. We have been, since 1994. The stretch between 94 and 2019 is 25 years. This is an unprecedented period of labor peace. Since that strike wiped out the World Series in 1994. I know it's a couple of years away, but there have been grumblings and warnings that we could be returning to those days because of where the salaries are going moving forward, and the union basically threatening to shut the industry down in a couple of years because of it. So now, be prepared for that.
Would that situation be a lockout, a strike, or a mutual?
I have no idea. Probably a strike. In that case, it would be a strike because the players would be taking the product off the field because they don't feel that they're being paid enough.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things that I was wondering about. It's like, you always hear about these huge contracts, and of course, anyone who has any problem with sports, the first thing they say is, "Why do we pay men millions of dollars to hit a ball with a bat, but we don't pay our teachers?" Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, well, hold on a sec. Not everyone's making fucking Bryce Harper money.
As soon as you can get a teacher that 40,000 people will pay $40 a piece to go teach. Okay, then you can make that argument. It's an entertainment business. They're in the business of entertaining people. People pay money to be entertained by these people. That's why they make that kind of money.
Well, yeah,
life isn't fair.
Well, to me, it's just it's not a one-to-one situation here. It's them cherry picking from a situation, because you could also go, look how many guys are only making like $125,000. You say only, but
to them it's all relatively speaking, right? To them it is only $125,000.
I mean that's solidly like middle class for an average family. But I mean, is the average family have a parent who's not home for 6 months at a stretch almost?
125,000 is upper class, man.
That's well into upper class, isn't it?
Well, I mean,
oh yeah.
You get into major cities where most baseball teams are at. That's solidly middle class, edging into upper middle.
Yeah,
class.
and like San Francisco, New York. Yeah, that's middle class.
Even when I lived in Phoenix, man. I mean, like, I'm used to Detroit. Like, oh, you make this much at Ford, and you're big balling. I go out there, and these heating and these HVAC guys for heating and cooling out there in Phoenix, they're like, I make 6 figures easy. This is 20 years ago, and I'm like, and are you rich? Because, like, to me, I'm like, damn, you must have an indoor pool, huh? Like, you know, and they're like, no, just I can live in Glendale. Don't have to live in the actual city. I can actually drive to the suburbs. That's about all it buys. But still, I mean, that's you know, that's not ridiculous. And for people to look at the most extreme examples, which is what people tend to do, and compare and say that's how the entire league is. No, trust me, it's fucking not. The 25th man, fuck that. The last man on the 40-man roster ain't making fucking Bryce Harper, Manny Machado money.
No.
It's just not happening. So
I don't know what the league minimum is. It's like, I want to say it's like $550,000-$600,000.
Is it that high?
Oh yeah, it was $485,000 20 years ago.
Okay.
I mean, it's up there. It's very high.
I remember hearing the league minimum 20 years ago in the NHL, and it was $125,000, and I was like, "That's it? That's all you make?" And
it's a lot higher than that. Yeah,
and they're talking. Then I just want to say this real quick. Then I found out they don't get dental. Like, you're a hockey player. That's the one thing you should get from the team.
Yeah, you should get like European dental. No deductible. Yeah, free implants. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's going to be a problem. I mean, I understand it. I see it from the owner's viewpoint. I think it's great for baseball that these players are finally being paid for what they're going to do, what they are doing, rather than what they did for another team 5 years ago. I think it's great. I think that these contracts, like Miguel Cabrera's contract, I think are terrible for the game. They give the team no flexibility whatsoever. Now, nobody made the team pay him that kind of money, but that was the industry practice at the time. Moving forward, it's changing, and I think it's good for the game. I honestly believe, Michael Fulmer is a perfect example of why this is a good idea for both the player and the club, right? Because if you give Michael Fulmer this, I don't know, say you're going to give him 5 years, $60 million, 2 years ago, right? The player is locked up. He's got a guarantee. $60 million isn't fucking peanuts, man. You win the $60 million lotto, you've done pretty well for yourself. Your family's going to be okay for a generation or so, right? That's good fucking money. You've got the security, right? You've got an insurance policy in case you blow your UCL out and have to have Tommy John surgery and all of a sudden lose your entire market value. Tigers aren't going to get shit for Michael Fulmer now. He has to come back, and he has to be healthy for at least a full year before anybody's going to give anything for him, right? So he would have been tied up. He would have been locked up. He would have gotten the security. Now, had he stayed healthy, the Tigers benefit as well because now they've got a top-end pitcher who not only is cost-effective, is a good value for the team, leaves enough resources that you can actually put another pitcher with him, right? But also later on makes him a tradable commodity because he's not a fucking albatross contract. If you're not contending in 3 years out of this 5-year contract, you can do what the White Sox did with Chris Sale, send him to a contender and get prospects back. Everybody fucking wins here. And so I hope to God that the Players Union and the players work within what's going on here. I can understand bringing the bottom end salaries up. Maybe make the league minimum $2 million a year, something like that. You know what I mean? Maybe shorten free agency a little bit, but I hope that these contract extensions, I hope these teams continue to evaluate the talent they've got. And if you've got somebody that you think is a surefire talent that's going to be with your club, going to help you contend in 5 or 6 or 7 years, you continue to lock these players up at reasonable salaries and see where the game goes. So look for Nick Castellanos. They're not going to get shit for him, Martinez, for anything. You're not going to get a all-bat fucking...
Wait, wow, you just saved all the good, cheery news for the end of the show.
Yeah, right?
I think we lost Todd here.
Oh, yeah, bye. He's there.
There he is. Okay.
I cut out on you?
Yeah, you cut out for a second.
We losing Todd. We lost the Iceman. We lost the AAF.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Did I finish my
hardly knew you.
Did I finish my Castellanos rant?
Yes.
Okay, good. That's all I wanted to say. So anyway, that's it. Yeah, that's what I got. I could go on for another 3 hours, but I think we blew our nut on the politics stuff early. So.
It's like I said, it's not the first time, and it won't be the last time. We tend to do this.
Yes.
On this show because, well, like I said, we also tend to look a little bit deeper than like the narrative's being force-fed to us. And it's like, really? Okay. You know. But that's just because we like to be contrarians for the sake of it.
That's Chris.
But yeah, the AAF, done. Johnny Manziel on the loose, no job, which means hide your...
just like a month ago, Johnny.
Hide your uglier daughters and smaller livestock, because he's coming to your town eventually. And, the
AAF just proved to us 20 years later what the XFL proved to us in 99. If you can have all the press and all the fucking fanfare you want, if you have a shitty product, goes away.
That's capitalism, isn't it?
Well, it's going to be nice to see this XFL version 2.0 to see if it lasts as long as 8 weeks.
Yeah, I knew it didn't bode well for the AAF when I fell asleep during the first 2 series of the first game that I watched.
See, and here's the thing, Todd. I haven't even had a chance to check out any of the games. And I listened to these guys for the first 2 weeks, give it a really good old college try. Yeah. And when both of them were like, this shit is boring, I was like, oh, I'm not even going to fucking bother. Yeah. I don't even want to get invested.
Earl and I are arguably erect for 4 months, starting from September to January, football season. And we were like, oh, yeah, extra football season. And God, no, thank you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, another one bites the dust. We don't have the rights to play that song, so insert that there if you
another
must.
One bites the dust, and another one. I'll sing it for you.
Hey, it was less than 7 seconds. We don't have to pay him.
Yeah, there we go. Awesome. Yeah, like I said, we lost Earl. Ice had some business to take care of.
It was called going to sleep to get up for work.
Either that or
in the morning.
Either that or he had an emergency on his hands. Either one at this point with his job, it could be.
Yes.
Or both at the same time.
Like, Todd, thanks for joining us. It's fun. It always is.
Sure. Yeah, I missed you guys, man.
Yes.
I missed doing these things.
Just to remind you, we are on Twitter at SportG Podcast. Email us, sportg@ChristopherMedia.net. Check us out Thursdays on ChristopherMedia.net, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. But thanks for listening, and we will catch you next week.
Bye.
Later, guys.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
If you look around, you'll see the world can be pretty smart. Okay, very smart. At Capella University, we think education should be smart too. That's why we're reshaping online learning with our FlexPath format. You can set your own deadlines, take classes at your own pace, even leverage your previous experience to move faster. So when it comes to earning your bachelor's degree, you know what kind of choice to make. A smart one. Visit capella.edu to learn more. Capella University. Don't just learn smarter.
ChristopherMedia.net.
If you like this show, please tell a friend. Please make sure to rate and comment on all your favorite Christopher Media shows. Please follow us on Twitter and like and share us on Facebook. You can subscribe to all ChristopherMedia.net shows for free on ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for listening, and thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.